Good evening, everyone. We are live, and we're going to be joined in just a moment by my guest, Garret from Scooter 911, where we're going to spend the evening talking about tools for new technicians. And already there's a bunch of people in the chat, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining. This is going to be a ton of fun. I've been looking forward to this now for a couple of weeks, and we're going to have a chance to field questions and comments and get everyone's experiences and share the knowledge. And hopefully, if you're a new technician or you want to be a new technician, you'll get some really good information from what we're going to discuss tonight. And if you're a veteran and have been turning wrenches for a long time, please share your knowledge and all that you've gained too, because the industry really needs people who are willing to pay it forward, help the new generation out to keep growing the industry, especially in light of all the changes that we're seeing come down the line with new vehicle technologies and new applications for technicians' skills. So let's bring in Garret from Scooter 911. Hey, Garret, how are you?
Excellent, Lindsay. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us, man. This is going to be a ton of fun.
Man, it's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I had hoped to be doing this from the shop, but it really did not. It did absolutely not cool down enough to be in the shop right now at 8 o'clock at night. So here at the house.
Must have been pretty bad there during the day. It got up to what, 100 and something today, 102?
Yeah, I think it was 103. I don't know. It felt like 130, but it's the life we live now.
Well, at least you're a little bit cooler. That's good.
Yeah.
So in the chat, we've got folks that are from the regular crew of folks that have I've met in the last few months, and also people who have been following my channel for a while. So we got a good crew of people who are going to help us kick it off and give us comments and their input and field questions, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks again.
Yeah, it's really my pleasure, Lindsay. It's great to be here, and always good hanging out with you.
I appreciate that. So what we're going to do is, as you and I have our discussion, we're going to bring in comments and questions that people in the chat are talking about. So our conversation is going to be, augmented by what folks in the chat are saying. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by PowerStroke Jude, who has his own very, very prolific channel. He was a diesel technician for a while. Now he's a service writer, and we'll bring in his perspective, and then we'll open it up later on after that to even more folks. How's that sound?
Cool. Yeah. Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it.
So I have just some questions I was thinking of. Certainly, as anyone else has more questions, bring them up, and we'll chat them out and talk about them. So I thought maybe we'd start off with some generalities here. First, to give you some background on Garret, you're an ASC certified master technician, and you have your own shop now that services scooters and motorcycles and other small engine transportation type applications. And he opened in Austin, about a year ago now?
Yeah, we're rolling up on a year here, so really thankful for the opportunity, and it's been, just keep trucking every day.
Yeah, it's been a great year because you've been growing your business that way. You have a really successful YouTube channel that's been growing, and you're just hitting it kind of on all cylinders right now. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, man, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. I
don't know. It seems like everything's sticking for you. I mean, you're just You're in a great position, and congratulations on everything that has been going your way. And I'm really stoked to go along with your ride, from my perspective, and see how well you're doing. And thanks for letting me be a part of it too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, pleasure.
All right, so let's kick it off about talking about tools for new technicians. And there's a ton of different topics that we can discuss in these formats. I thought this would be a great one to start it all off with, because we have so many people who watch our channels who have such varying experiences and at different places in their careers. And there's never a bad time in your career for good advice. And hopefully we can impart some on younger folks or newer folks who are just coming in. So to start off, and for everyone in the chat, please chime in with your opinions and experiences too. Name, if you would, the 5 best tools for new technicians.
All right. I've got them ready right here. I've got tool number 1. I've got a demonstration right here. Number 1, plain and simple. This is a good old-fashioned test light. You can't even describe how useful this thing is in almost every situation. It's a great learning tool because it really kind of opens your world up to what electrical systems are. And I mean, typically on a vehicle, I mean, of course, you have reference voltage and all that good stuff for sensors, but pretty much everything on a vehicle operates within, like, does it have power? Does it have ground? This shows you both. And it's a great learning tool, like I said, because you're like exploring these systems and you can learn other ways to use this tool that are, still applicable today. The next 4 tools, I don't really have any specific order, but I do think the number 2 thing that any tech needs is a high ratchet. I mean, we spend most of our days, turning fasteners with sockets, of course, and you want to use power tools when you can. But, tools can need batteries. You might not have the accessibility to bring the air hose in there. A good quality hand ratchet is like just absolutely paramount, and one that's rebuildable, one that has serviceable parts that you can rebuild yourself, or preferably you have a tool truck, who comes through and can rebuild and service your ratchets. That's absolutely critical to a new technician. There's this idea that, like, oh, I'll buy a really good one and hopefully it never lets me down. But when you're trying to feed yourself by, fixing cars or, fixing whatever, and you lose your sidearm, you're just dead in the water. So, having backups is important, but nothing beats like a really high quality ratchet that someone who comes by every week can sit there and, throw a new gear kit in it, throw a new pawl in it, new O-ring or whatever goes out. Boom, you're back in business. Along that same line, I really feel that a place that a lot of technicians skimp on that they shouldn't is a high quality set of screwdrivers. Of course, we're getting to a point in time where, Phillips head or JIS screws aren't as prevalent on, critical fasteners of engines and components. But when you're getting into something like turning wrenches, you never know what's coming at you. And a low quality screwdriver is literally going to let you down. You're going to, cam out different fasteners. You're going to end up making more work for yourself, because if you don't have a high quality set of screwdrivers and you strip out a fastener, now what do you do? Like, I'm sure you probably didn't invest in an easy out set or a way to remove that fastener. Now you have downtime. You're getting behind the clock. You're not going to be flagging as much hours as you need to do. So screwdrivers are something that they're base, and yes, they kind of serve a niche practice, but it's just great. And they're pretty low cost as far as things go. You can get a, $700-800 set of wrenches. And I can't say that they're dramatically better than a $400 set of wrench or a $200 set of wrenches, but, a $200 set of screwdrivers with, the applicable heads, you want to have a number 3, you want to have a number 2 for sure. Preferably something that's JIS compliant, so it fits all the Japanese screws and you don't end up wrecking every screw under the customer's hood. That's just after that, I kind of feel like it's a choose your own. I really, invested early on in a high quality set of wrenches. I got those Mac Precision Torque wrenches, and I got them because they came in a slick case, and I was doing a lot of roadside service. The shop I was working at was sending me out on AAA road calls. And so I was out there changing alternators and batteries on the side of the road. And the case was great because I could see all my wrenches there instead of just slapped in the back of that Ford Ranger I was running around in. But a comfortable set of wrenches is extremely important. You need something that you're going to be using it every day. You don't want to be beating yourself up. You need something with a longer handle typically, because you also, it's like a joke to me. Like when you see like the home gamer tools and they get you like a 17 millimeter wrench that's like 6 inches long. You're like, what am I like, what am I going to put this on and be able to apply any torque at all? You're just going to end up saying swear words, hurting yourself. You'll put another wrench on it with the old, cheater bar, the redneck cheater bar. And I don't know, it's no good. And then, like I said, these aren't in any particular order, but then the last bit of investment for a new tech is a good power driver. It really kind of depends on your style and the vehicles you're working on. I invested early on a high quality air ratchet because back then, like, man, electric tools were pretty crude. They were not powerful. The batteries didn't last long. They were like, it took forever to charge the batteries. Now things have kind of changed a bit. You can get a really great electric ratchet. But even something like as basic as like this is the 12 volt, impact driver 3/8. There was a time where I was working at two shops. So I had one set of tools at one shop, one set at the other. And this was like in my other toolbox from my home box. And I use this thing and relied on it every day. But you need to figure out a way to be able to start making up the time. So you have like, can I do the job? Yes. Do I have the correct wrench to remove this power steering pump? Yes, I need that. But technicians who are working on book time, man, like, cool, the job pays 2 hours. If you can get it done in a half hour, you can start boom, 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 stacking jobs up and really start making the bread. So that's my 5. I don't know. I'm up to interpretation. Number 1, I'm still saying test light. Everyone's got to have one. You need one. You don't want to be pulling your multimeter out every time and try and stick things. You need to be able to probe a harness. Boom, 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 boom. All right, here's where this relay is not, the field coil of this relay is not energized. I got it right there. Boom, 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 boom.
All right. Well, let's see what some of the folks in the chat are saying. Rail 9222 says a coffee cup.
Oh, clearly. Absolutely. You know what? I changed my number 1, man. Coffee cup. Absolutely. Can't get further away from that, man.
Well, Down East Outdoors agrees. A test light, absolutely got to have one. And 5 says that be careful with newer cars. They don't cause damage at the test lights.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
I know there's some shops that won't allow folks to use power probes, for example, because they're afraid of the damage that they can cause injecting power.
Absolutely. That I think I've seen destroy more people's day than any other tool that has ever come out. I've seen so many people just horse up an entire car with a power probe. I saw a gentleman at the city absolutely fry an entire, $20,000 wood chipper, just whoop, 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 and just send the thing through the moon. And yeah, it's an excellent point. You do need to know what you're doing with a test light. Yep. Absolutely. You can't be using it indiscriminately. You can't just like, oh, let's try this, because you will, inevitably short things out. I will also say though, that the newer test lights that are LED and have the meter built in, you can use those for just testing output voltage really quick, which is fantastic. And the LEDs, of course, don't draw as much current. So I'll say you have less risk of, damaging a module or some kind of, CAN bus system. Of course, you can't use an LED on a CAN bus, but, new techs, they're putting things in places that shouldn't be anyway. So.
Ian Lloyd says wrenches, sockets, a ratchet. Battery or air later on. I think that's an important distinction to make too, is, the need for power tools. You're an advocate of a driver. I think that that's an outstanding investment, but I would urge new guys to stay away from the more expensive high-end power stuff right away.
Man, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I worked for 7 or 8 years without a 1/2-inch impact. Because I bought early on, I invested, my first impact was 3/8 drive, and it was like the newfangled Mac impact, and it made 500 foot-pounds of takeoff torque, whatever that means, according to their torque rating, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I really never needed much more than that. And, if it got into a heavier job, if we're working on some 3,500 pickup or something like that. Yeah, there were times where I needed to borrow the tire techs, Ingersoll Rand to really send something home. But yeah, you can't just go in there ham-fisted. That's why I really like this 12 volt. It's really hard to really hurt something as a new tech with this 12 volt. You definitely can. I've definitely seen it. But something like that is easier. And the air ratchet's the same way. Air ratchets don't typically apply a lot of torque. You kind of send the torque home by hand at the end, or you break something loose by hand first, which is a great thing to learn. But yeah, you definitely a simple driver, whether that's going to be a ratchet or a hand impact, is definitely the way to go before you need to go spending the big buku bucks on something that makes 1,300 foot-pounds, and you're just going to be blasting fasteners to the moon every day,
Well, I think that's certainly where experience comes into play.
Yeah.
You get to know it by hand first before you start removing that tactile, connection that you have with your work.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, GM85, NewTek, solid set of wrenches, sockets, DVOM, code reader, and of course a ratchet.
What is that? A low rider? What kind of dyno is that? Nice hog, man. Nice hog. Sorry, I was distracted by the Harley. I need to catch up on the reading now. Yeah, a solid set of wrenches, absolutely. Well, here's what I have to say, and I'm not disagreeing with Anthony in any way. I think a high quality set of sockets is super important. But generally, I feel in today's market, most of the sockets are pretty darn good. And of course, without abuse being a factor, they're all pretty reliable. So when it comes down to the number of times that a tool lets you down, whether it destroys a fastener because the tolerances aren't tight, or when the socket fails, sockets fail way less often than a high quality ratchet. And it's just it also comes down to mileage too. Like you'll use your ratchet to drive a 10 millimeter, an 8 millimeter, a 13, a 15, a 17, a 19. You're using it all the time, where that that 10 millimeter socket, although it gets used a ton, won't get as used as much as the ratchet itself. Yeah, but wrenches, I don't think you can skimp on, man. Especially when it comes down to your comfort. You don't want to be destroying your body trying to make your bread. So,
good point.
Agree with you, man. Good Harley, good comment.
Raging Cajun Garage says, sorry, it sounds like you're telling a brand new tech to jump right in on the tool truck and a lot of debt.
Oh, no.
And I'm right there with you, Garrett. I know it sounds strange, and it might even sound disingenuous coming from me because I operate a tool truck. But one of the pieces of advice I routinely give a new tech is stay off the tool trucks, including my own, because it's going to take you a while to get to the point in your career where you derive value from the tool truck and justify the higher costs.
Absolutely. And to that point, I got a set of Craftsman metric sockets when I was like 14 or 15, and most of them I still have today. And I wouldn't call that an exorbitant price to pay for a set of sockets. Yeah, it was more than what you'll pay at Harbor Freight or off Amazon, but not by much. And back in that day, you could stop after work at the Sears and get a new 13 millimeter because you broke it on some part. I definitely would agree with you, Lindsay. Tool trucks have their place. They're invaluable to a technician who is dedicated to the craft and is really trying to invest in their future. But at the same time, like, a good quality wrench doesn't mean a snap-on wrench. It doesn't mean a Matco wrench. It just means one that, the tolerances are correct. The design of the wrench is so that you can use it every day and not be beating yourself up. Some of those old Craftsmans, man, they absolutely destroy your hands. The sharp edges on the corners and stuff. But they're fabulous wrenches. I mean, I still have a number of Craftsman wrenches I've had for, oh my God, almost 20 years now.
Well, to your earlier point, treat your body right early on, and you'll be thankful later, because even really doesn't matter what level you're working at. It's going to wear on you. You're going to start feeling it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe Mama says, "Let the tool hoarding begin." Yeah. It's going to be one of those nights. And 5 says, "New techs, head to Harbor Freight." I am a big advocate of a lot of their offerings. I routinely tell people who ask me for tool carts or toolboxes, I'm like, beat the new 6-drawer Harbor Freight tool cart, man, for $600.
Absolutely.
I challenge anyone to beat that deal. Get a cart that's at least that good for under $1,000 brand new. And I don't think you can do it. I've been very impressed with what I've been seeing lately.
Yeah. And absolutely. There's definitely a place for that. I think that investing in a quality toolbox is, of course, great for someone who wants to make their life's work out of, turning wrenches or, building things. Having a box with a lifetime warranty where someone comes by and you get a spot weld break on your drawer and they throw a new drawer in there for free. Fantastic. Not for a new tech, man. You don't, and I'm not trying to be disparaging to any new technician or anyone who's interested in getting into the field, but you don't know what it's going to be like until you get there. Mike Tyson always said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. You can absolutely think that you want to be, the baddest tech in town, and I'm going to build this, I'm going to build that, and then get in there for a year, sweating over hoods, crawling on your back, getting dirt and mud in your eyes every day, and find out, hey, this isn't for me, and racking up the debt for a toolbox or a lot of those things is just not worth it. And honestly, man, I hate saying this, and I hate saying this on your channel too, Lindsay.
Yeah.
The Harbor Freight tools, man, they have come a long way, man.
They have.
And there used to be like a stigma associated. Like when I started in, like if you showed up with, a Craftsman toolbox, even people were like, look at Mr. Green over here. Doesn't even have any tools, But like now there's enough fantastic techs who have been doing it for 20, 30 years who run the Harbor Freight boxes because they're great value and they're a pretty good product,
And I think that whether we want it to be or not, oftentimes a toolbox is still a status symbol. And
yeah,
tell me
about it.
Consciously, many times, and certainly unconsciously, tend to judge people based on the toolbox that they have in a shop. And I'll admit I do it sometimes too. Like if I see a new guy comes in the shop and he's got some ratty old beat up other, non-tool truck brand box or whatever, and I see, that he's got kind of a dilapidated set of tools, and what that tells me is he's not interested in investing in his career. That's not to say that if you have a Harbor Freight toolbox, you're not interested in investing in your career. It may very well mean you're just really interested in prioritizing where you're spending your money because that your toolbox, for example, it's not going to earn you money like a good ratchet earns you money. It's a different kind of value that it adds because yes, it's going to allow you to be efficient, well organized, but that's more of a back end cost savings, not something that's up front like the tool you're putting in your hand.
Right. And there's also the security factor of it. Like once you have an investment in tools, like, I've gotten more invested in my tools now than I do in my college education, which is like disturbing in both senses of how much those things cost. But, at the point where like, hey, my livelihood's at stake, I want the security of a secure box. A really heavy box is important because you don't want someone to just roll up in a pickup and take my box away. Which it still could be done. Where there's a will, there's a way. If someone's got their eye on my tools, they're gonna have it. But yeah, the investment has to come later once you've decided, hey, I've invested this much. Hey, I am dedicated to this, aspect of my life, and now it's time for me to install, some giant payment in my life's work for how much a toolbox costs. And I'll tell you too, man, I've worked with technicians. I worked with this really bad dude back at VTech in Montana. Just the baddest cat, man. He was the first person I ever saw pull a front wheel drive transmission without dropping the cradle. Like snuck a transmission out of the side of a Dodge Caravan. Don't even know how he did it. Did it before lunch. Kid had like, man, I don't even think it was a Craftsman toolbox. I don't even know where he got this thing, just like the most Island of Misfit Toys tool set, and he was just bad. He was a bad son of a gun.
Yep.
So tools don't make the man, absolutely, but I think they do add to the longevity of what you can do as a technician.
Now let's talk about the 5 worst tools that a new tech could possibly get.
Yeah. I got one tool 5 times: 1/2 inch impact, 1/2 inch impact, 1/2 inch impact. 1/2 inch impact, and then like 1/2 inch impact sockets, because for some reason, some impact socket sets for your 1/2 inch impact will go down to 8 millimeter, and they're like, whoa, this is fast. And they'll just, man, send things to the moon.
How about scanners as an early purchase for new technicians? I've known a lot of guys who say, do not invest in a scanner right off the bat.
No,
I think it's too easy to build a false reliance on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to learn the basics. You have to learn what this information that the scan tool is the scanner doesn't fix the car. The quality of the scanner matters to somebody who's really familiar with what that data means. But if you don't know how the systems operate and how they affect one another, the best scanner is not going to do any better than the O'Reilly's Pocket OBD2. And so as far as that goes, yeah, you should have that. You should be able to pull a quick code or whatever. So get yourself a pocket scanner. Those are getting really affordable. There's ones that go to your phone now. I'm not about the gimmicky stuff. I'd rather have the live data off of wire instead of going to my phone with some kitschy app and ads. But yeah, I think a scanner is a really poor investment for that. One, because of the cost, but you just are not going to know what to do with it. And there's going to be opportunities for you to learn down the line. If you're getting to shadow another technician and learning how, oh, wow, this guy uses fuel trims a lot to try and diagnose, vacuum leaks and this and that. You learn those tricks, and you can do those with pocket scanners before you need to be able to run bi-directional tests and things like that. So,
well, it looks like there's a lot of agreement and consensus in the chat. Ian Lloyd says a scanner. Yep. Johnny Ramirez, a scanner.
Yeah.
Cash from Speed Rent says toolbox scanner, battery powered tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Joe Mama brings up on the point, interpretation of scan data is crucial until you start building that knowledge and experience. It might as well be in a foreign language. If you don't understand what it's telling you, it's not helping you.
Man, and you can do so much without the scanner too. You can do so much with a DVOM. You can do, all the things that the scan tool is doing. Everything the scan tool is doing is just bringing you the data to one spot, but you can hunt that data in other places.
Anthony GM85, the first worst tool investments: cheap tap and die set. Second, a cheap scanner or code reader.
Oh, cheap tap and die set. My guy, Anthony. Absolutely. Man, you want to talk about some swear words. Try and chase. You're like, end of the day, sweating. Miss Johnson is breathing down your neck about getting her Buick off your rack, and you're just trying to chase some threads with a quick, cheap tap, and boom, that thing snaps off there, and there goes your lunch. There goes your, bonus. There goes your hourly. Now you got to figure out how to extract that thing. Absolutely, a nail on the head there. I didn't know that was something that new techs were buying. I didn't even know they knew they were breaking stuff yet.
Well,
but yeah, great.
Yeah, it's not generally a question I get asked of me. Maybe Mark from Mid-Atlantic and Pat Paulson can weigh in, because these guys are also tool truck guys who are in the chat tonight, and I'd love to see what their opinions are too. How many new techs, actually inquire about those things, and what is their approach to trying to guide their decision-making process? Because that's part of the value that you have as a tool guy. It's part of the reason why we're expensive, is because hopefully we're giving people the advice that they need. And Mark from Mid-Atlantic Tool says most new techs have very little money. It's the dealer that will get him or her going with smaller payments. Keeping them out of debt is a trick. Mark, I couldn't agree more. Part of my conversation with a new tech is saying, what's your budget like? And where do we need to keep you? And if I think he's throwing big numbers at me, I'll try to, granted, I don't know someone's personal finances, but I'll try to guide him as best I can to say, we can do $20 a week just fine and get you in these tools right away. And then, as you go, and then we can bump you up a little bit.
Man, and that's such a value that only a tool truck can provide too. The tool truck, of course, it's the candy shop. You can get whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
There's great, truck accounts and credit options. But that relationship to start off, if your tool man is doing you right and helping you make the best choices for your career, that's the relationship that is symbiotic too, because there's so many options of where to purchase your tools too. But someone who's steering you right and giving you a trusted product, that's really a great relationship.
Yeah, and Pat says, they all ask, but they can't afford much, and that's the God's honest truth. And I think it also benefits you to get to know the new guys a little bit. Say, what do they have you working on in the shop? What kinds of things are you doing today? What do you want to be learning, and what do you need to tool up for? And try to help guys out. If you got a guy who's just a lube tech, for example, he's going to need certain kinds of tools. Okay, let's get you started there. Let's get you started. A good selection of filter wrenches, a solid ratchet with some solid wrench options. And if we're going to be moving into brakes, there's these other brake job tools that we can get you set up on. Not a lot of money. and it'll also get the tech used to working with a tool guy and working with their truck account.
Yeah.
And then Mark brings up a good point. We don't want to have money walk away. Of course not. If you don't know the guy's even committed to the career, you got to be really careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing like, I remember being a fresh young tech, and I was working at a place called Tyrama just as a tire tech, lube tech. And that was basically it. We had, impacts for the shop, 1/2-inch Ingersoll rims that we took tires on and off, and they had the 1/2-inch torque wrench, torque the wheels. So our investment as technicians was pretty, pretty basic. We needed a good set of, screwdrivers to be able to, take off. We were checking air filters and things in the lube bay, as you do. So you need a good set of torque spits and a good screwdriver set. And then, you start working with more vehicles and learn more things. And like, oh man, I need a brake caliper depressor. You don't for the parking brake, I'm drawing a blank. But for parking brake style calipers, you need the tool to be able to retract the parking brake. You need one that fits multiple models. And when you get that first quality tool and you stop saying swear words, and you're just like, oh, this is it. Oh man. All right. This is worth, I know it was $140, but this is worth every penny of it. Like, because now how many more brake jobs can I do? How many more hours can I flag?
It's a leapfrog kind of situation where you're going to have a certain level of skill, right? And then buy tools of a certain quality. And at some point, and you may not be able to appreciate all the features of a particular tool or the quality or the standard that it's made to given your current skill set. The idea is you're going to build your skills. And maybe you realize, I want a wrench or a ratchet that feels a little different, that works a little better, that has a tighter, swing arc or whatever it is. So then you're going to upgrade your tool. And now you can become that much more efficient. You can work in that much more comfort. You can feel like maybe I just rewarded myself a little bit after doing this for a year. Now I can afford to upgrade, in a couple of areas and spend some incremental amount and start building up a better collection.
Yeah, man, rewarding yourself can be a slippery slope, though. I see people
you gotta be careful.
Just absolutely deck their stuff out to the nines. It's like, man, did that new hutch with like 39-piece lighting kit really, help you flush that transmission? Or
I know. Well, Ian says a good tool dealer, they're priceless. Dirtbag tool, they can steer guys wrong all the time.
Oh, for real, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everybody who has ever bought stuff off a tool truck has at least a few stories they can tell about someone who just wanted to take advantage of them or gave them bad advice or didn't care about them or their career or their finances and just sold them on the idea of needing stuff. The industry is littered with stories like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know one person who hasn't had a tool guy that when you mention him, they go, oh, that guy.
No, it's consistent. It's one of those stories that you shudder when you hear it. Philippe Champagne says you do not have to buy big tools first, but you can build up to it as you go. Absolutely. And I think there's as we talked about before in the interview video that we did, and Speed Wrench and I had a similar conversation during our interview video. You need to have the discipline and the patience to ramp yourself up through your career. You can't start out at the top. You got to work your way there. That's not easy for a lot of us to do, but it is necessary because you can't just start diving in, spending the big bucks, getting the big tools, big name stuff right away. You got to be patient and work with yourself in your own development.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, man, I still have tools in my box from when I was like 14 and 15. And, some of them are junk. Some of them are like, oh, I need the screwdriver in case I need to beat on something. But some of them are still great tools, I make money with them today and never had the need to upgrade them. It's just it's a matter of which direction the field goes. I had no idea when I started off in this field that I would open my own motorcycle shop, so how would I have known to invest in those type of tools? I, worked my way from, being a lube and tire tech, up to, like a B tech, into the A tech, into the lead tech, working for the city of Austin, getting back into the motorcycle industry, doing all that stuff. There's been so many different career that there's no way that you'll be able to know, like, oh, I'm definitely getting my money's worth out of this, giant set of, 3/4 drive sockets. Like, yeah, you don't know if you're going to stay at Caterpillar your whole life, So
That's a really important point, and I think that some folks don't leave an open enough mind for their own future to know what you're doing today may be completely different from what you're doing tomorrow. And there's so many different disciplines within the field, within the industry, that you might find yourself working on earth moving equipment one day, or motorcycles the next, or general automotive, or diesel, or whatever it is. And then something I learned from Pat Paulson a couple of weeks ago. He's a mobile tool guy who services tomato plant processing facility. And
nice.
he derives a significant portion of his business from an industry that's not really automotive stuff at all, because he services the guys who maintain the machinery. And so even as a tool guy, you don't know where that's going. And I think that it's really interesting when you start learning about all the different ways that you can apply your craft. It may not be tomorrow what it is today.
So you're saying tomato plant workers have tool guys too? That's a brave new world out there, man.
That's what Pat says. World. I know. All right.
I heard that barbers have a similar relationship to their like tool guys, where there's a truck that comes by and will sharpen their shears, and like, hey, we checked out this new clipper, and I got this new product that does XYZ. And I just think that the parallels are just fascinating to me. Like,
it is.
And got a tool guy?
It made me wonder early on, like, what other industries could benefit from like a mobile tool model? Groceries, cosmetics. I don't know. These things that I just kind of mull around in my head from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let me ask you this. So how valuable are tool trucks for new technicians?
Man, here's how I'm going to define new technician, because I also saw this in the comment, and I think this is a really, really good point. I'm going to say new technician is 0 to 6 months. I'm going to say you've got general interest in the field, and you've probably been messing stuff up in your driveway, because that's how we all start. We all start by like, I can throw into a CV axle in my mom's Sentra, no big deal. Like, I watch some YouTube videos, and so you're like maybe in it a couple $100 in your little carry toolbox, and it's 0 to 6 months. So in that span of time, you just started off as a lube tech at some, mom and pop repair shop, or they want an apprentice or a helper, and you're mostly taking out trash anyway, or you're mostly, hey boy, come over here and hold this axle, stuff like that. Those are the jobs that we all do in our first 6 months. I don't think that the tool truck is going to provide you much value. I don't think it's going to provide you as much value as just the general experience of working in a shop environment and watching how the sausage is made. You're going to watch guys kick the garbage can and swear and curse and throw things across the shop because who knows why. You're going to get a whole nother side of what the automotive service industry looks like. And that's really going to make the factor for whether or not you're going to stake around to get your money's worth out of your investment. It's all about return on investment. So 0 to 6 months, man, probably nothing, unless you want to get like a good set of oil filter sockets, something that like is specifically tuned to your job in the shop. You don't need $100 blowgun. You don't need anything that comes with a free hat. Here we go. Here's my Garrett's rule for 0 to 6 months. You get nothing that comes with a free hat. Never.
That's a rule to live by. Holy
cow. Absolutely. I'm gonna get a tattoo or something. After 6 months, I feel like you have enough of an idea of like what people use, and you see what kinds of tools do what kinds of jobs. Oh yeah, that's Dennis. He's the transmission guy. He uses like this set of line pressure gauges. He uses these like 39 extensions all hooked together. That's where I want to be. That's the kind of stuff I need to be ramping up towards. Or you see, I don't want to be Dennis. No way am I buying all those extensions to hook together and some swivels and things like that. But I am interested in this electrical work. So maybe I do want to get a meter. And from like 6 months to 12 months, I say maybe one hat. You can get one hat from 6 months to 12 months. If your new Fluke meter comes with a Matco hat or whomever is selling whom to who, you get one hat. And then, man, maybe between year 1 and year 3, you get 2 more hats. But it has to be an incremental ramp up in your investment. Man, kind of rambled on that one, but
fair enough.
That's where I kind of feel your relationship as a new tech needs to be to a tool truck.
Well, Speed Rent says that there could be an opportunity in servicing strip clubs because you never know when you're going to have to fix a stripper pole.
Who's torquing those things down, man? Someone's got the gig.
And we've all seen the videos. It could be end in disaster if that pole comes loose.
Yeah, man. That's why you need a high quality torque wrench. There's people's lives at stake.
Anthony GM85 new techs. Don't get blinded by all the shiny chrome on the trucks. Buy smart.
Man, wise.
It does make me nervous when I see a young guy come on the truck and he gets a little wide-eyed and looking around at all the tools. And I am heartened if he comes on with a more seasoned guy. Sometimes it's an apprentice-mentor relationship. And I like when that happens because the mentor's, he's been down that road. Everyone knows what that's like when you're new. And it's very predictable to see the new guys kind of fall into that same line of thinking.
Yeah. And there's 2 ways that can go too. I was lucky enough to have sort of a dual mentorship at Tiorama. They couldn't have been more polar opposite, man. There was this guy, he was kind of the head honcho lead tech at the shop, and he was excellent. He knew Ford's like the back of his hand. He was just the absolute master Ford guy. And then there was this other old hippie guy who he worked with, he had Harbor Freight sockets and he loved them because they were at that time, they were different colors. So his 10 millimeter was blue. So if he had a big pile of sockets, he'd be like, oh, the blue one, that's the one I want for my, whatever job I'm working on. And working with the first guy, the Ford master guy, man, he was like, oh, you got to get this air ratchet. You got to get this impact. You need to get these from this guy and these from this guy. And he was, basically, I don't know if he was in cahoots with the tool guys or what, but he was very pro investing in everything that you could. But he was also one of those guys who probably spent $500-600 a week in tool bills. And the other guy was, very much like, you don't need that. How much faster is taking that air box off with a screw gun than it is with just an old fashioned screwdriver. So, definitely having someone kind of walk you through the tool truck and kind of get, man, do you remember the first time you stepped foot on a tool truck, Lindsay? It's a pretty wild experience.
And although I was never a technician, I absolutely remember the first time I stepped on a tool truck. I
Yeah,
never
you don't need to be a technician.
It was a Mack truck, and I had that same look on my face. I had the same wonderment, and and when I looked at everything there, I had so many questions because it was when I was first getting introduced to the idea of buying a franchise. So I had a lot to learn, and I remember my first question was, and it's hilarious to say now, given the years, the experience that I've gained in the business. My first question was, how many tools do people need to buy?
Yeah.
Right.
Man, and for real.
I mean, but when the tool guy explained to me about different industries and being at a different level in your career, and the things you need from day one are going to be very different from the things you need on day 300, 600, 10,000, however long you're turning a wrench, changing your disciplines in the industries, the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. Stuff
breaks. People want to upgrade something. Sometimes they just want something new and different. And, I didn't realize just how big the business really was. And to know that it seems like every tool truck, no matter how many you have servicing a particular area, no matter how many different brands are represented, we're all carving out a piece of the pie for ourselves. And we're all making a living. You know, I mean, it seems like there's this bottomless pit of a need for tools in the world.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with that more. And the wonderment that you get when you first set foot, I'll never forget. The first tool truck that I stepped on was a Snap-on tool truck. I had just started. I was like, man, maybe I wasn't even working professionally yet. I might have been 13 or 14. But my father had a shop and he would service trucks, of course. And I was just there one day and I came on to the Snap-on truck and just like, man, there's no tool aisle in any store that looks like a tool truck. Just things on the walls and the ceilings, and you have weird things you have never seen before for purposes you can't even imagine. You're like, why does anyone need like a 3-liter suction hose? Like, you're like, what is this? What? The science experiments. It's like, it's pretty captivating. And that, I think that's why a lot of new techs walk off with brand new hats, you know, because they're like, yeah, I gotta have this. Absolutely.
Johnny Ramirez says new techs need to learn how to pay up every week or two. And I think that that's very important to set those expectations from the get-go.
Right.
It's an easy industry for a technician to take advantage of a tool guy. It's easy for a tool guy to take advantage of a technician. And you have to establish those ground rules right away. You need to have that mutual respect. I have said it a million times on my channel. This business is about the relationship more than anything. And both the tool guy and the technician need to care about each other. And this industry works best when we all realize we're in it to help each other make money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a partnership. I had tool guys. I was fortunate enough to have really fabulous tool guys early on in my career who really, like you said, like steered me like, hey, you don't need ratcheting wrenches yet. Like, you should probably get like a real set of wrenches before you get ratcheting wrenches. And you know, kind of helped me decide what kind of path I was going to travel into. But you do need that relationship of like, hey, you know, you can trust me, you know, I'm good for this amount of money. And you know that I'll be here every week to make sure that you're getting your business taken care of so that I can get my business taken care of, because you really do. You are like, whether or not you're one of those guys who's like never tool truck guy, like I'm going to get everything from Sears. There is going to be a time where you just need the dang tool truck and you don't want to be burning those bridges. You know, what are you going to do? You blow the fuse out in your meter and you need that whatever 100 milliamp stupid fuse that's for some reason $48 everywhere. Yeah. Like, you need it. And the tool truck's here and he's got it. But, you know, I don't know. I never want to burn any bridge anyway. But it's true. We need each other cohesively. It's a symbiotic relationship. So.
And the old tech guy, thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate that. Pat Paulson says there's plenty of business for everyone on the trucks. There is proof of that every single day. You know, and you know, it's all part of the conversation. I like when people feel comfortable enough to not think they're offending me if they tell me about something they bought off the Snap-on truck or the Matco truck or whatever. It does not bother me at all, because I understand the business well enough to know that choice is very important and availability is very important. There are going to be some things that the Matco guy has on his truck that I don't have on my truck. And as anyone who's been on my truck knows, it's most things.
Come on.
Because because we all carry different things. We carry different quantities of things. And, you know, sometimes you just need the thing that the Snap-on guy had that day. And it's not a question of allegiance at that point. It's simply you doing what you need to do to do your job. And that's part of the benefit of having so many different trucks in some areas. Like there are a few shops where there are 5 tool trucks. There's me, Snap-on, Matco, Mac, and Coyle that show up every week. And, you know, there's still enough business for us all to go around.
Yeah, absolutely. And no matter how seasoned the techs are, you're gonna need that. I mean, I don't know if I need all 5 of those shops. There's only 3 of us at our shop right now, but like, we get serviced by you, and we get a great Mac dealer and a Matco guy. And there's stuff some weeks that like, boop, that's what we need right now.
Yep.
I prefer it. I prefer it to go to you, Lindsay. Of course, you're our favorite tool guy. Mondays are the best because we know Lindsay Coyle's showing up. But there's Wednesdays we're like, ooh, absolutely need one of these today. Gotta have that.
Yep. And Mid-Atlantic Tool says almost 20 years of selling tools. I'm still amazed how much I sell to the same guys each week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I took on you get to know your customers, right? And to the point where you even know, like when you get something cool on the truck or something new, or maybe you take in like a box or a cart or something like that. I usually have a good idea who's going to buy that. I took on a brand used Snap-on cart last week. I knew the shop that was going to sell at. I just didn't know the guy at the shop was going to buy it, right? So I roll into the shop. 10 minutes later, I'm rolling that thing off. Because you know your customers and they know you, and that's a just terrific relationship to have with guys, because that takes it from more than just a vendor-customer relationship. That takes it to a whole different level where you know these guys at a very personal level, and they know you, and that to me is a lot of fun.
Man, that's an aspect I had never even considered of the tool truck. It's like, oh yeah, Steve is gonna need this bad boy. Yeah, absolutely. So here's a quick question for you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Man, you've been my tool guy for. Man, were you my tool guy in 2015? Is that when I met you?
2016.
2016. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
6 years together. It's a long time relationship. Have you ever had that feeling about me? Have you ever thought like, ooh, Garrett's going to need this bad boy. He's walking off the truck with this thing. You ever had that feeling?
Yeah. Especially because you get to know somebody, you associate a particular tool with a particular person. Right? You just get something. I'm sorry to say, Garret would like this, I think, or it's based on conversations that we have too. When I'm in the shop with you, you show me what's around the shop. You show me the kinds of things that you use, and I know then what kinds of things you find valuable, and it just helps keep that conversation going, and it helps me add value to your day and your job, and that to me that's where so much of the fun comes in. Because I don't want to be the kind of guy who just shows up and sells people on things. That's not what I want to do. I want to be a resource, and that helps me do that. And I feel better about that than just saying, hey, here's some cool deals in the flyer. Meanwhile, you don't need any of them because that's not what you do for a living, And there's not, you don't walk into a body shop with, I don't know, a 1/2-inch impact. And, that's not what sorry, that's not what they need. They're looking at other tools, and, you understanding your customers and what they need and what they work on, even what their preferences are, means a lot,
Man, yeah, we just had that relationship work out for the best for the both of us. Like 2 weeks ago, I was showing you like, hey, Lindsay, do you have anything that can take this little Speedo drive? It's like, it's kind of splined, but it's not really a spline socket. You got anything that can grip that? Like, we don't mess it up. You're like, oh, I think this would work. Sure enough.
In fact, I put that on I told that story on a tool haul video where those pliers came in, because I thought something like that was such a cool little nugget of information, where that is where a good tool guy wants to be. I want someone to pose a problem to me. Give me an application that you have and you don't know what tool you need. Right? That's, to me, put me to the test. I want to find out what that is, right? I want to start exploring some options. I want to start giving you some choices here and see what works. And what we came up with were those hose pliers that have the rounded ends on the jaw. And they come in 3 different sizes. You chose the one that fit the collar, and the knurling was correct on it because it matched the knurling on the Speedo cable collar. And that to me is a ton of fun. It wasn't a big sale. No, it was a $25 pair of pliers. But to me, that's very gratifying, and that's how I feel rewarded in the business.
And I'll tell you what, Lindsay, we have already put some miles on those bad boys.
Good.
And the fantastic thing is, like, when you have that kind of relationship. Like I can say to you, like, hey man, do you have anything that would fit this? I know you're not just gonna like sell me some stuff or like you really want me to have the good experience, because you also know that you'll be back next week. And if you burned me, I'm probably gonna burn you back. So it's really that relationship with the tool truck where we can work together to make sure that we're both doing what we need to do.
Yep. PowerStroke Jude had to one up at the old tech guy and super chat of $5.01.
Yeah, $1, Bob. $1.
Do I hear 502? Thank you, Jude. I appreciate that. And Anthony throws in the forgot a new tech good quality gauges are important. Compression, leak down, vacuum, fuel pressure.
Ooh, going old school on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man,
yeah.
I don't feel that a lot of new techs even know how to use a vacuum gauge.
I was just going to say that. I don't know that I've ever had a new guy ask me about that. It seems like it is kind of an older school thing.
Well, okay. Okay. Let's kind of wrap this back around, because we said we already like put the kibosh on using a scan tool as a new tech, right? So, the scan tool has sort of replaced all of those. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that either, because I am a big fan of just a manual compression test, leak down testing. I want to see the guts right there in real life. But, on Ford since like 2008, you've had the relative compression test right there available on the scan tool. You crank it over, you can see percentages wise on all cylinders across the board. You can use the map sensor data to find out what kind of vacuum the engine's pulling. But using that data now, for me, has come from, working on vintage cars. In my father's shop, we did a lot of flathead V8s. So we're looking at things from 1932 to 1950, 54, 53. Sorry, 53. Oh man, I hope my dad's not watching. Man, he's gonna be so mad. And you need a vacuum gauge because you know what the engine is supposed to create at idle, and you know how to use the vacuum gauge to test for, we've got a blockage in the exhaust or some other sort of restriction. You know how to use those tools. And I actually kind of agree with that. I feel like using the manual tools is a great way to learn the basics of engine dynamics in general, like learning, this is what vacuum actually does to the fuel. Like this is a big part of atomizing the fuel. This is what compression really means. And I've also seen a lot of technicians get burned by not using those tools, throwing parts at a car like, oh yeah, it needs a coil and an injector, when they haven't even, tested the compression of that cylinder to find out that, oh, we've got a dead hole anyway.
Let's get caught up for a second. Some things going on in the chat.
Sure.
Anthony, GM85 502.
Yeah, that's my
Thank
dude.
you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Oh, but not to be outdone, Pat Paulson, the $20 1-cent super chat.
Preemptively.
Oh, and then Ed had to match Anthony for 502. Boom, we just like to be one-upped. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to bring in our third guest tonight. You know him as PowerStroke Jude. He's out in California, where he was a diesel tech for quite a while, and then he moved on to being a service writer in his shop out there. And he has a ton of really good experience. He has a really fun channel where he does shop tours and talks about all kinds of things going on in the business, and he loves looking at tools and talking about those. So welcome, Jude. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
What's up, guys? What's up, Garret?
What's happening? Hey, nice to meet you too,
man.
Jude.
I know you from Lindsay's channel. Your interview and your toolbox tour, man. Very cool. Your tool cart tour, I think it was. Or you did a toolbox and a tool cart tour. I thought very, very cool
Yeah,
stuff.
cool. Yeah.
How you guys doing tonight?
Man, excellent.
All right. Yeah,
you
this
got
is
a
fun.
lot
I've been looking forward to this. And
lots of fun out there. I've been trying to keep the algorithm moving, commenting all night.
Thank you for that.
wow, no, it's doing well. We got 38 people watching. We're an hour in. Love the comments. It's moving along really well, and I'm very glad that you guys are joining, and it's been a great conversation. So thank you. So let's keep it rolling with this question. What's the best tool you ever bought? Garret, go.
Oh gosh. Okay. I had one flash to my brain. So like your initial reaction is probably the most pure thought or whatever. I think the best tool I ever bought was that Astra Tool soldering buddy. It's like a magnetic base with a flexible stem, and then it's got the two jaws that hold. Little backstory: like I kind of became the electrical guy early on in my career. That was sort of the path that I chose. It was a great way to specialize and be valuable to the shop. And I really like electrical stuff, so it was a good fit. And I did a lot of soldering for the city of Austin on the police interceptors and all of the city of Austin equipment, because everything has just miles of, DMAV and GPS and cameras and all that stuff. That tool has brought me so much joy, and that tool is so good that it has brought joy to people watching me use it. Like
Wow.
that is how good that tool is. And it was exorbitantly expensive for what it is. And when I tell somebody like, yeah, I spent $50 on a tool that holds two wires together, that sounds crazy. I have definitely got more than $50 worth of joy and like the swear word reduction, out of that.
Yeah, that's always
I'd have
great.
to say
Swear word
tool.
reductions are awesome.
Yeah, we also call it a verbal lubrication. You can apply liberal amounts of verbal lubrication on it.
Jude, what's the best tool you ever bought?
My long neck cordless ratchets. Easy, very easy.
Really?
Easy. Don't even have to hesitate thinking about that.
That's a pretty late model tool. How often? Like how recent was that purchase?
I've had it since about a little after it came out. Not too much longer after it came out. Pretty much right after I bought the non-long necks.
Yeah, of course they got to get you. They're like, all right, you got that one. Wait till you see what we got next week.
Yeah, I mean, they're awesome tools, man. I like those a lot. They're really, really cool tools. I mean, it's probably a common answer a lot of people would give, but I do really like those a lot.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of long neck ratchets, Lindsay?
No, because Milwaukee being my primary power tool line, they don't have a terrific option there. I did just see today they have a new quarter drive, long neck, 12-volt ratchet, and I'm very interested in that. It is not the high speed one, but that's okay. I think that it's going to be better because it has the smaller head on it, and that was the big thing that was holding back their long neck ratchets was they had this big fat head on it, and you couldn't get them in all the right places. But this one I think is going to be better on the market than the other ones. So.
Yeah, I think it'll do well if it's got a smaller head. That was definitely the issue with that one, that it was a little too bulky.
And I had an electric ratchet way early on in the scene. Matco had an electric ratchet. I'm sure everyone did, but I bought one off the Matco truck in like 2009, maybe 9 or 10. And it was exquisite about 60% of the time. And then like 40% of the time I was cursing that thing because of the size of the head, because of like it had a really big battery and it was really bulky in the handle. And so you just couldn't manipulate it under a hood. You couldn't really get it everywhere you could get an air ratchet. So yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is just developing every day and becoming better and better.
Especially becomes more affordable,
Yeah.
Philippe Champagne says his best tool is a multimeter.
Boom, my guy.
If you know how to use them to their best advantage, absolutely. Yeah. Really good investment.
Yeah, good fluke. Can't beat it.
Yep. And Ian Lloyd says, I'll tell you what, you couldn't rent my 2 extra hands to hold 2 wires for $50, so money well spent.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Nice, Ian.
And no offense, Ian, I also don't want you up under a dashboard with me. So, it goes both ways.
I don't not continue to try it.
Yeah, it's true. Hey,
I don't know. And Raging Cajun, thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I appreciate that.
Awesome, Raging. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, 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 indeed. Speed Wrench says, my Snap-on flank drive combo wrenches, I've had them for 26 years. They have never let me down.
That would probably be, if I didn't have my cordless ratchets, that would probably be my number one as well. I've had mine for about 20 years. Never let me down. I know a lot of people don't like the bite on them. They say it's a little too aggressive for softer fasteners, but oh man, I love those things. Yeah. Never let me down.
Yeah. Absolutely. I actually bought my set of flank drive combo wrenches because my first purchase of a set of professional wrenches was the Mac Precision Torque. But then I moved shops and I didn't have a Mac dealer. And I was thinking, like, what am I going to do? I break my 13 millimeter. I'm up a creek, you know? So I ended up going with the flank drive. And then, like, man, literally 3 weeks later, who rolls in the shop but Lindsay Coyle as a fresh new Mac dealer? I'm like, man, where were you, my dude?
Yeah, that didn't last forever either.
Yeah.
Go without a couple of years.
Yeah, but you had a great blowout sale. And
that was pretty awesome. That was the 2 best weeks of forever.
Oh, man. This past December. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's that?
No, go ahead. No, I was going to say this past December when my Mac dealer was going out of business, man. Ooh, we cleaned up. I picked up their drill bit set, the 29-piece drill bit set.
Oh yeah,
for like $100 cheaper than what it was on sale for in the flyer that month.
Yeah.
That's a deal.
That's a grim and unspoken value of a tool truck. It's like, oh yeah, it's unfortunate, but oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't think I was going to be able to afford these wobble sockets.
Mark from Mid-Atlantic Tool says Aircat makes a really long neck air ratchet. They do. One of the only air tools I still sell. No doubt about it. I think that as battery stuff takes over the power tool market, the air market is shrinking so rapidly. When you look at what the viable air tools are still on the market, you have an air hammer, die grinders, and there's not a huge selection of air tools that are still really viable when you compare them to the cordless stuff now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I still have a soft spot for my air ratchet. Mm-hmm. You know, it might just because she's been with me for 15 years or whatever. But there is like an ever looming obsolescence that's over all my air tools. And I'm like, oh god, yeah,
I know.
That cordless stuff is so handy.
They still have a place. There's still guys that use them. You know, I don't know about ratchets so much. I don't see many air ratchets in use much, but impacts for sure.
I feel like I take mine out on a sympathy tour every now and again. Like, okay, yeah. I need this today. Yeah, let me just bring this out.
Yeah, you're right. They do have a place, but it seems like more and more it's like in the bottom drawer of a box in the corner of the shop that you really don't use anymore.
Yeah,
that just seems to be how it is. I mean, I fought it for a while, but man, I'm loving cordless tools.
Yeah.
And the old tech guy says, I think my favorite new tool is going to be the Snap-on Digital 3/8 torque wrench I just purchased. Second's going to be that 6-amp, 12-volt battery you got from me. Oh, good. It came in today. Glad to hear that. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that with the Snap-on Digital torque wrench. They're fabulous. They're the de facto. It seems like everyone who owns other brands, I'm going to be a little self-serving to say, except for Gear Wrench and Snap-on. It seems like, honestly, those two brands hold the largest market share that I've seen. I don't see many Matco. I don't even know the last time I saw a Mac. I think that what you get for your money is pretty compelling with those.
Yeah, and the digital torque wrench, like what a mind-blowingly brilliant tool to have. In when I was teching in Montana, of course, we did a lot of Subarus because everyone drives Subarus for all-wheel drive. And of course, thereafter, we did a lot of head gaskets because they go hand in hand. And just having a torque wrench that can do angles, man, how valuable like that tool became so quickly. Like, oh, have you seen this new torque wrench? It does torque angle right there on the meter. It chirps at you when you're ready to go. Like no more doing the sharpening and guessing.
The level of confusion, like, but how does it know? Regardless of the orientation I have, it still knows. There's nothing but magic in these.
I still don't understand it. I don't know. I don't want to know. As far as I know, it's black magic. Cool.
We still need some mysteries in our life.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, Chris Chambers, Johnny Ramirez, Turbo Tag Tie. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. Johnny Ramirez, you've been here for a while.
Yeah, he's been in for a while. Tools of Souls just shut up. My favorite tool is going to be the next one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Robert, what's up?
I know about that life. That's absolutely, that's absolutely true. There's the joy that I grew up watching my dad use tools and working in his shop, and the twinkle he'd get in his eye.
Yeah.
When we're running up on something, he's like, "Oh, I have the tool for this." Go off into some corner of the shop and pull up this really obscure, this is the tool for the job.
Yeah.
So,
all right. How about the worst tool you ever bought? Jude, go.
Oh, I guess it's going to end up being probably that Travis tool 02 sensor wrench because
that ratcheting one?
The ratcheting one because everyone's telling me it's going to fail. It was very expensive and, well, they're no longer in business to warranty anything. So probably that one. Garrett?
Man, that's hard to say. I would say there's one again that comes to mind. It was my first set of metric sockets I bought. I was getting into working on cars, and I was pulling cars out of neighbors' yards and trying to fix them up and sell them as a teenage kid. And I bought a set of sockets, Duralast sockets. I don't know if that's AutoZone or Advanced.
Yeah, it's one of the parts stores. Yeah.
Yeah. I bought a set of Duralast metric sockets, and I went to pull a starter motor out of a 1984 Ford Escort. And it was the 13. I put it on my little Craftsman wrench. I threw it up on the bolt, and I gave it not even a quarter turn, and bing, sent my knuckles right into the side of the engine. Socket exploded. Oh man, it was instant regret and instant anguish and resentment. And man, maybe that's why I became a tool addict for high quality tools. But probably the worst set of tools I ever bought.
I knew Cass was going to say that one.
Cass hates the Texas Twister.
What is the Texas Twister? What is that a drink?
It's a set of attachments for an air hammer that they're this
it's like a
these attachments in long S shape where the one end goes in the chuck to your hammer, and you can hammer on something behind you. It's kind of hard to show. You can hammer on something this way because it goes in your hammer, comes out, loops around, and it goes behind something. So you can.
No. I'm gonna look this up, man. That does not make any sense.
It's weird.
Oh, I shouldn't have Googled Texas Twister. Oh no!
Well, I mean,
no. Save search on.
Erase your browser history.
Yeah, right on. Okay, hold on a second. Oh no! Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this for? What's the application, Lindsay? Why are people buying this tool?
They don't.
Oh, okay, good.
They don't buy it. No. The Texas Twister is like Makita. Nobody buys them. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
Adam Savage.
Makita.
The
worst tool, everything Makita. Ouch. Ooh. Shot across the bow. And the old tech guy loves Makita.
Yeah.
So
I've never had a Makita tool. I can't say so. I guess I fall in that category. Nobody buys it, but I know people who are like, "Oh, this Makita is fabulous. It's exactly the right weight." I don't know what's good about them. I'm just making stuff up. But,
well, Anthony says that Texas Twister's a joke. You'll get more done with a ball peen hammer and a pickle fork.
Oh, pickle fork. Yeah, that was an eye-opening tool for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good or bad?
Absolutely. Oh, great.
Okay.
So growing up, watching my father work and everything, old cars from the 40s, 50s, 60s, the way you get a tie rod out of a steering knuckle is you wang on the knuckle with a hammer and it shoots right out. But that's not the most appropriate way to separate the two, especially when, there's some level of optics, like maybe the customer can see you through the window. They don't want to see you wanging on the car, or maybe you don't want to, dent up the knuckle or mar anything. So finding out that there was such a thing and that it was called a pickle fork. Why is it even called that? I don't know. But, a good pickle fork set to be able to separate that stuff. And then shortly after purchasing my pickle fork, of course, because it's always, I think tool trucks plan this. They're like, let's sell all the pickle forks, and in next month's flyer, we'll get the air hammer attachment for pickle fork. I was like, you guys, come on. So of course we got the air hammer pickle fork attachment, which is exquisite. That's a fabulous tool.
Yeah, that's true. How many times do you buy a tool that the next month on the tool truck it's a better version of that tool?
Yeah. Well, it's either a better version or it's on sale. Those are the two things sale.
And as a tool guy, I hate that myself, because I'll see it come up and I'm like, oh, they made it better. But I'm like, well, let's just stick with what we had. Everyone was pretty happy with that, but now, I got some explaining to do.
Just when you thought.
That guy says the worst tool is a Craftsman Robo Grips, and the remade Vice Grips. They don't grab anything.
Oh, okay, I gotta Google Craftsman Robo Grips. I guess that's probably gonna be a safer search. So let me just check that out.
There is a sizable difference in the effectiveness of locking pliers, and brand does matter in those. Some just don't grab that well. Some give up the ghost too soon. Some you can torque down better than others. There's a significant difference.
What's the function of this? Is it just a set of pliers that with a different design? Why do you make this? Why? What was the use of this tool? Whomever suggested that, why did you purchase that tool?
It would be eye-catching for engineers.
And Ed is an engineer by trade. He's a rather accomplished DIYer.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's definitely. It looks like some engineer's homework for sure. I'm not sure what the actual specific application would be for something like that. Tie rods, maybe? I don't know. Cracking acorns, probably.
Hey.
There's an application for every tool. Mm-hmm. Anthony GM85, $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Very grateful. Makita.
He says Makita's the best.
Every day. Nice.
All right. From the back of the field coming up.
Right. And Turbo Tai asks, why did they bother replacing MG725? I don't know. Good question. Anyone have the answer to that one?
Googling that real quick.
I do not know.
Oh, yeah, that's the classic. That's the good old girl everybody used to have. Yeah, I've got no idea. What's really interesting about impact drivers is they all have a very distinct sound. Mm-hmm. And you can tell who's got what is that, MG725. Who's got the MG725 in the shop. You're like, oh, Steve's hitting something over there, or oh, Larry's got the old Ingersoll Rand, whatever the standby, that big heavy son of a gun that Ingersoll Rand makes that everybody uses. You're like, oh, Larry's out. What's he taking off right now? I wonder if they're like Harley, where they kind of develop their exhaust notes, to make sure that you're like, oh yeah, that was definitely a snap-on.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they take it to that level. I think that you associate so much with look and feel and sound and other things that other senses that you may not realize you're using sometimes. I don't know, it'd be interesting. Tune the sound of the impact. Well, Pat Paulson says that dynamic flare nut sockets are complete trash. Dynamic flare nut sockets.
Googling that. I'm on it, Lindsay.
I'm not familiar with those.
Oh, those are trash.
Are they? Well, Tarek is coming to his defense. Pat, you shut your mouth. They're the only crow's feet you'll ever need.
I think those ones that Pat showed where the 17 was bigger than the 19.
What is this? Is this a flare nut crow's foot wobble socket? Is that what this is? What is this tool? Wow. I'm thank you for the advice to never buy them. I don't know why I would even need them, but like, man, that is a impressive little piece of kit.
Well,
I don't
Pat's
know what you
kindness
would
is
need
overflowing right now. He says he'd send them to Tarek, but he likes them too much. That's nice. Looking out for each other out there.
Hey, Lindsay, you think I could piggyback off of what you guys started with and give a couple ideas of some tools new techs might need?
Please do. Yeah.
You know, I actually have a reference tool sitting in front of me. You know, show and tell, I guess.
I brought mine.
But a lot of times, you know, they're going to be either in a lube rack or maybe an apprentice. You know, when they're starting. So think tools first and foremost. I think they need flashlights. You know, a good rechargeable flashlight and a good pen flash. You know, pocket flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're underneath the car looking for leaks, fluid leaks, or you know whatever, a good rechargeable flashlight. I like Stingers or not. Who makes a Stinger? Streamlight. I like Streamlights. I'm considering switching over to Coast, but I do like Streamlights. Other things that you're going to need to be doing, I think, is you're going to be looking to, you know, sometimes it's slow at the shop, and if you're in a lube rack, you're trying to make money, even if it's not for yourself. If you're hourly, you know, you want to upsell stuff, you know, so get like a tire depth gauge, some you can check the brake tread for pads anyways. I suggest getting this style that you can use where you don't have to take off the wheel if you have disc brakes, instead of the steel ones that you have to take off the wheel. That makes things quick and easy. You're going to be doing a lot of tires and checking tires, so get a tire pressure gauge. Get you said 5. I've got more than 5, Lindsay. I'm sorry. But I think you mentioned this one. You said an impact driver. An impact driver is important. You know, if you're doing, if you're on the lube rack, you know, if you're changing air filters, lots of things you're going to be needing an impact driver for. Get a good blowgun. I recommend the Flexzilla blowgun. It's like $20 at O'Reilly's, and it's the best blowgun I've ever used in my life. And get a good. You're going to be taking a lot of tires off of vehicles. Get a good 1/2-inch pneumatic impact. This is an old Craftsman one I've had for a long time. We talked about this last night. You know, these pneumatic impacts, they last forever and they're strong. And I guess earlier I was saying the place for tools is always for those tools is in the bottom drawer somewhere. But when you're just starting, an air impact is a great tool to have. Eventually you can move up to, you know, cordless, whatever you want, Milwaukee, Snap-on, Mac, whatever. Wrenches, sockets. I would say get a good set of ratcheting wrenches. You don't need to get flex set right away. That makes it a little bit more money. But I have this old set. It's 8 to 19. It's a gear wrench set. And I've had these for years. They've, you know, there is not a whole ton of, you know, big long wrenches, but they're a good set. If you are going to get that same set, but with the flexible head, Lindsay, we were talking the other day too. The Easy Red, I believe, makes or no, actually, Tarek said someone else makes the ones for Easy Red for mountain.
I forget the company name, the Cabo or something like that.
Yeah, Cabo. That's what he said. It was Cabo.
Yep.
If that's true and they make them for everybody, then consider the Orion set, because most sets are, you know, the cheapest you're going to find them on sale is about $170 nowadays. Mm-hmm. But the Orion set you can get for like $80. You know, wow. And if they're made by Cabo and they're the same tool, then why not? And you said a good ratchet, Garrett. That's absolutely true. A good 3/8 ratchet and a good 1/4-inch ratchet. You know, if you're 1/2-inch ratchets, I mean, if you're new in the industry, you're probably not going to be using a 1/2-inch ratchet, but a good 3/8 and a good 1/4-inch ratchet. And I think you guys will be good to go. I'm actually thinking about doing a video on this topic. Hate to steal it, Lindsay, but I think it's a cool idea, man. I might do a presentation and try to do a video on it.
I'd say it's a terrific idea. The more people get advice and the more sources they get it from, I think the better. Everyone's going to have a slightly different list, and it just helps you realize, A, there's always something else to be considering, but B, there's always a good application for everything that we've talked about tonight. It's not as if you're going to get a set of ratcheting wrenches or a half-inch air impact if you're working on tires. I feel like you just wasted your money if you bought something half decent. It's one of the reasons why I really like getting some used air tools on the market on the truck. I took a used Snap-on half-inch air impact and used Mac half-inch air impact from one guy. He wanted to trade them both in, and but he hadn't used them in years. They were just sitting on the bottom shelf of his box, but they work great. So I was only happy to take them in. And they sold right away and they both sold to new guys. And I made sure that I approached these guys with this. Hey, man, if you're just getting going and need something, consider these. So I gave them to them. They tried them out and said, use them for the week or whatever. Let me know what you think next week. And that's a great way to start building a collection and getting yourself in without spending way too much money.
Yeah. Oh man, and a huge value of the tool truck again. Like as a young tech, man, I bought pretty much. There was a used drawer in most tool trucks. Mm-hmm. Man, that was where I was every week. Like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Oh, go look at this impact, perfect. Oh, look at this. Like, I don't have to spend the $600 on this, air tool. I can really just get a pretty decent one right now that's serviceable for a way better price. A good ratchet and a good, serviceable set of tools. I think serviceability is really where I think the niche is for getting a tool you can rely on. You want to be able to field dress it.
Yeah, and don't like I know there's a lot of tool brands out there now. Don't go too inexpensive because you're trying to get more. Because you're like Garret talked about, man. He developed a liking to expensive or more quality tools because he broke his knuckles. Taking a starter out of a 1984 Ford Escort.
Man, good memory, my guy. Yeah, nice work on
Garret. He forgets nothing. It doesn't matter how small the detail is.
All right. I'm going to add a little more. It was a 1.6 Kent motor push rod, 4-speed model.
But yeah, that's true. I like Gear Wrench. I like Snap-on. I like Cornwell. I like Mac. Everybody probably knows Snap-on is usually my tool of choice that I go to. But I just got sent last weekend a set of Gear Wrench sockets, and I've been using them, this week. And man, I like them. I like them a lot. They're old. I mean, yeah, they're quarter-inch. What really kind of torque are you gonna have on faster that are quarter-inch drive? But still, you know what? It's a great set. I like them a lot. Shout out to Tarek. You hooked me up with those.
So Jude, when you were first starting in the field, what was your position? Did you start as an apprentice, or did you start as a helper? Did you start as a loop tech?
Shoot, man! When I got out of tech school, and I thought I was going to change the world and be, King Tut when I came to the shop. I started off slinging a mop for a year.
Yeah, for real. So did you get a Snap-on mop? You got the mop and the Snap-on bucket?
I started off as a porter, washing cars, parking cars, slinging a mop, and then I went into the lube rack. I did some lube work, and then I'm going to date myself, but do you remember the old chips they used to put for like a security system where your car wouldn't start unless you plugged the little computer chip thing into the, I don't even know what they call them. It was just like a little chip.
Are you talking about the GM one that the resistor was in the key? Or
I was doing this for Toyota. It was a attachment to your keychain, and you just reached under, you plugged it in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
So I started installing those, and then about that time I left Toyota and went to Ford, and I was an apprentice for a little bit, and then I was working on the heavy line department, and did that for a few years, and then the 6.0 came out, and when the 6.0 came out, diesel became a department at Ford, not just tune up versus heavy line. Diesel just became its own department. I tried to get the position. My boss told me he had someone else in mind. I said, all right, cool. First big job that dude had was taking off a head off of an excursion. And it's funny because he went to the service manual and he was taking out the headlight and the grill. And I mean, he had everything off of his car. I mean, stuff that nowadays, none of it's necessary, but who knew back then, right?
Yeah, sure.
But it was completely tore down on a Friday, and his box was gone on a Monday.
Oh, God.
And my boss told me, do you still want that position? I'm like, yeah. He's like, get that truck running and it's yours. And I'm like, all right, cool. A couple of days later, the truck was running. It had a small fuel leak. Replaced an O-ring. The customer went home, and that was it. I was working on diesels at Ford ever since. Did that for like 10, 12 years. And then I made an attempt at my own shop. They didn't work out, but I'll try another one. I'll do it again, hopefully.
Yeah. Man, that 6-liter. That 6-liter was the motor that made me decide I am not a diesel tech, dude. I was like, nope. Yeah, it was like, it might have been my first or second year of teching too, and I was like working my way up, getting bigger jobs. You start off just, hey man, just run this Coates 4040, just change tires all day. All right, here's an air filter. Do this, lube oil filter. Little things. And I got a serpentine belt on a 6-liter Ford, and I was like, serpentine belt? Yeah, let's do it. And I just remember going like, oh, whoa, this is impossible. I don't know. How did anyone even install this belt in the first place? There's no way to do it. I don't know. So yeah, I learned early on, like, there's a different kind of human being that can deal with that kind of emotional turmoil that a 6-liter Ford can put a person through. And I am not that kind of person.
So what are your biggest nuggets of wisdom for a new guy, Garret?
Man, you know what? My biggest nugget of wisdom, nuggets are, one, watch the way that everybody works, because every technician in the shop has a completely different style, and you can watch how their work rolls in, how the process goes, and how it rolls out. You can watch the guys who are trying to slam jam and do everything fast, and things are sloppy and they misdiagnose things. You can watch the guys who are overly meticulous, and they don't turn many hours out at the end of the week. You can watch the guys who have pigeonholed themselves, like, oh no, I don't do electrical. Oh yeah, I don't do that. Or the guys who are like, oh yeah, I'm just anything Chevy. I do it all day. Give me the Chevy. You can watch all of those things and observe the way that the work is actually produced, and observe the way the people are operating in the shop, and decide not only what kind of technician you want to be, but how you want to perform the work. There are guys who are, like, oh, I only do it if I have the exact right tool. And there is the opposite. The guys who are like, I've got this adjustable wrench and I'm going to put it on everything, and find out before you go deciding this is what you want to do and you want to invest in your toolbox and all these things. Watch how it goes down in the shop. Just watch people. Watch what tools people are using. My one of my favorite tools is my 1/4 inch. I bought the Mac because I'm a fool, but it's made by S&P. What's it? Who's it made by, Lindsay? Who makes that little 1/4 inch with the flippy thing on the back? SPR. Yep. I bought that ratchet right off the Mac truck because I was watching a senior tech do some underhood work on might have been a Ford Contour V6, something with a really tight engine compartment where you don't have room, and he had backed his wrench up against something, and he was able to flip it. He flipped the reverse function on his ratchet and drive it back in. I was like, definitely got to have that. So just watching the techs around you teaches you so much, not only about the industry, but which direction you need to move. If you want to be the guy who does things right, you want to be a specialist, which specialty you want to take. My nugget is watch everybody and don't hold anybody. Nobody's doing everything right and no one's doing everything wrong. So watch.
Jude.
I would say if you're new at a shop or in the business industry, you can come up to me and ask me a question. You can ask me 10 questions. You can ask me 100 questions. But tomorrow, don't ask me the same question or 10 questions or 100 questions. And the day after, if I'll gladly try to help you, but try to retain it. Try to pay attention so you're not asking me the same questions day after day after day. And if you're new to the shop, put stuff back. If you're using something, if you're using shop tools, put shop tools back where they go, because man, you don't know how irritating it is, and then the impression it gives of the new guy. Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't put anything back. No one's going to like you. No one's going to want to help you. So put stuff back and listen when you ask questions.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. I kind of feel like that's changed a little bit too. Like I remember when I was a new tech, it was like everyone was on me about all of that stuff. Like, one of my jobs, like opening the shop up, on the tire side, we had to oil all the impact drivers. That was the first thing you did in the morning. You put some oil in every impact driver, flip on the compressor, turn on the lights, all that stuff. But people were on me about like, did you put that back? Is that where those wheel weights go? Where is the, wheel weight hammer? Where is this? And really from really early on in my career, just making sure that was a general respect that you had for the shop and the people you were working with. And I don't really, I mean, I guess it's been a while since I've seen a new guy come on in a modern shop, but I don't really feel like people are as, I don't know, this maybe I'm just a little jealous. I don't feel like people are as hard on that anymore either. Like people are kind of more in their own zone, where they're not like looking after like, oh, new guy, where'd you put that wrench down? Like, where's my thing? But yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That's just a respect for your coworker too. You can't be wasting someone else's time making them look for whatever tool you just picked up out of their box or out of the tool crib.
God knows not everybody is the most observant kind of person in the world, and not everyone always picks up and retains stuff quickly, but you sure notice when there is someone in your shop who does.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It's next level kind of stuff. And it's like a breath of fresh air when you work with somebody who has those personal skills. It's not the hard skill, it's those softer skills that are really, really important that oftentimes you just don't see that much. So when someone comes along who has them, sometimes that's that certain something that you can't define that they've got that just makes them, that much better than your average person that breezes through a shop.
Yeah, that could be the deciding factor in whether the senior tech invests in you.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, this cat is listening to what we say. He puts everything back. He does his work. Hey, kid, come over here. Let me show you how to do this job. Like, this could be a thing that you do now.
Well, because all of a sudden somebody seems like they're worth the effort that you put in to put them under your wing and bring them along.
Yep.
And you're not just throwing away your effort. It's actually being used for a more beneficial end.
Hey, Lindsay, I'm going to have to dip out because I got to take my kid to basketball practice.
Okay.
If you're still on, you might be. I know you're going to get the panel. It's only going to be gone for like 45 minutes. If you guys are still on, I'll jump back in.
Yeah, please. That'd be great.
All right, cool. Garrett, I hope you're still there when I come back too, man. But it was great meeting you. If I don't see you, man, it was really, really fun talking with you. I really enjoy your stuff, and I've seen you on Lindsay's channel, but never really dawned on me you had a channel yourself. But
yeah,
it's huge, dude. And I was checking some of your stuff out. It's really cool, man. I like it a lot.
Cool. Appreciate that, Jude, man. Yeah. Good to meet you too. We'll talk diesel soon, man. You got a lot to teach me. So.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, dude. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, let's get caught up in some of the stuff going on in the sidebar here. A lot of good chat information going on. And the old tech guy has his nugget of wisdom: be humble, give more than you get. Remember, we all make mistakes, and put away your phone.
Oh my God!
Whew, can't argue with any of those.
Put away your phone, man.
Oh my God,
man! If there was 4 words that needed to be spoken more often in every single shop, man, put away your phone.
That is it. Yeah, that to me shows an engagement or lack thereof in somebody. You were, and I'm going to sound like an old guy when I say this, but the kids these days, when I was a kid, we couldn't have a phone in our hand because it didn't exist. And now I think that then the acceptable norm is people have phones in their hands all the time, and it shouldn't be. We should not change our expectations for someone just because of the prevalence of something like a phone. And when I hired a couple of guys in the past to operate my trucks, when I'm training them, I can't tell you how many times they were going for that phone. I just want to slap it out of their hand. And I'd sound like a jerk if I said it, but you're on my clock.
Yeah.
Not whoever's calling you. Man,
absolutely. And it's just a respect for the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to get? Yeah, I know that you're on billable hours and you can, maybe you can get this job done with X amount of leeway so that you can check your Snapchat or whatever. But is that really something that is benefiting you or your coworkers or your employer or, even yourself? Like if you had that time available at the end of your job when you've completed this task, could you do something to better yourself? Could you be in that service manual? And I don't know, maybe you're on the phone, you're looking at the service manual, you're like, oh, I really want to know the torque specs for these fasteners. Sure, that's cool, but that's not what people are doing.
Right.
Yeah, put away your phone, man. I think I've seen more interns get fired out of phones than pretty much anything else, man.
Yeah, and it's something that's so you would think it's easy to avoid, but the problem there is it's become so ingrained in so many behavior patterns that you got to have the thing in your hand, you got to have the screen in your face. It's just something that is beyond ubiquitous now. It's something that people simply can't seem to put down sometimes.
Oh yeah. Hey, I see in the comments here, take your earbuds out, man. Absolutely. And I hope you're not talking to me because I need these for the podcast or whatever this thing is, but absolutely. I think that's something that is like sort of ingrained into our society now too, where we kind of want to be in our own space.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a shop environment, holy cow, you need to have your head on a swivel and you need to know what's happening because you don't know who's bringing a rig off the alignment rack and hasn't pumped the brakes and just did a brake job and they're going to be crashing through the shop. You don't know what's happening. One further than that, even my biggest pet peeve was I was supervising at a shop for the city of Austin, and I had a lot of techs who rolled into the shop with the windows up. And I just think, I don't know if that was something that was impressed upon me really early on, but if someone needs to yell at you because, I don't know, the car is hemorrhaging oil or the car is on fire or you're going to run over Douglas, like you need to be able to know that something is wrong when you're operating a motor vehicle indoors. So yeah, no earbuds, roll the windows down, have some respect for the human beings you're working with.
Absolutely. And I think the people who don't understand that are missing a far greater point, that the one of safety that you brought up. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a regular basis that will look at Bluetooth speakers and somebody say, because I can't wear my earbuds. They don't understand the reasoning behind it. So either it's not conveyed to them why it's important, or if it is, they don't believe it, or they're just not thinking along those lines. That there's a larger picture. It's not just you all alone in your garage at home working on something. There's a lot of things going on around you, even in a small shop, and you have to be attuned to that.
Yeah, you don't know who's pinned under what or who's got their arm stuck in such and such.
Yeah.
Like it's a community in there. You need to work together to keep each other safe, to keep yourself safe. I don't know. And you don't want to blow up Miss Johnson's Buick because you left the drain plug out. You want someone to say, "Hey, you got 5 quarts of oil on the ground." You know?
Yeah, it's true. So, given the length of time you've been in the industry, I'm sure plenty of guys in the chat have been in the industry even longer. You've seen a lot of changes through the years. And when you think back on what it was like when you first came in the door of the industry, and you compare that to what new technicians are facing today, what are some of the biggest differences you could see between when you were new and what a new technician will be facing today as a new guy?
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's the biggest thing that I've seen, and I know this from just the sort of changing times that were happening when I was coming on the scene. Um, I think tech schools are a wonderful thing, and I think they do a great job. And I'm for anyone getting an education, no matter what it is. But there are a lot more jobs now that require something. Like when I was trying to get into the motorcycle industry, Harley was just starting their partnership with UTI and all these things where you couldn't even get on as a porter unless you went to UTI and you got that. Getting these technical degrees, while I think the background information is important, I think a lot of people get their degree and don't really get their full knowledge base out of that. And I think the idea that the technical school is the gateway to the automotive industry is, I don't think it's exactly right. I still think there are still room in the mom and pop shops to get, ground floor experience, learn how to change oil, learn how to do these things. But we're really shifting away from that. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've seen so far as like a big change. We kind of, the technology is more advanced and we need to have better knowledge. But I don't think that someone needs to spend $40,000 on a 9-month program to become a technician. You definitely learn more just being in the shop working on, Miss Johnson's Buick than you do in technical school. And there's also been like quite a bit of the older, saltier techs have now resigned, and there's sort of this new wave of technicians who are a little more team oriented, a little more willing to work with each other, and that's been a pretty interesting dynamic to watch change too. But I mean, I've really only been turning wrenches professionally since like 2005, so I can't say I've seen a whole lot change.
Well, I think what interests me during that particular time is we have seen so many technological changes through the 2000s that it affects so much of what we do. And I'd be interested to know from guys that have been turning wrenches for 40 years, what have they seen from the early 90s even and or the mid 80s? And there's guys on the chat now who have been involved in this for a really long time. And to see the kinds of changes that not just culturally, but also technologically, I think for all the things that we see that are changing, there's so much that remains the same too, because shop culture seems to be very similar. I don't think that changes a whole lot, but I think expectations change. And I think people's abilities change because there's so much access to information and training and new attitudes toward people that may have gone to school to get a formal structured training versus those who haven't. And yeah, I think that there's so many different dynamics at play now. It can be confusing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the role of technician has changed quite a bit. I feel that the public's idea of what a technician is, like some greasy guy in coveralls, pulling out some greasy part out of an engine, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of disconnected from that because I've been working in shops my whole life. But they have this idea of like a mechanic, whereas the modern shop has changed so much in the last, even the last, like, think about the last 15 years, variable cam timing, like all these different things that have advanced the automobile so far that it takes a different kind of technician to do that kind of work. We're working more with, you're looking through tables, fuel tables, and you need specific specification, and it's not just Jim knows that the power steering pump is bad because it makes this sound. It's way more scientific and measured approaches that we're taking to these cars. um, Although some people don't. Some people do just fix things with hammers and throw parts at things. And we all know that guy. We've all worked with that guy. Just shotgun bill. Just, yeah, we're going to put both O2 sensors in this son of a gun and a idle air control valve. And,
Or as Cash from Speed Wrench is, he's fond of saying, you throw the parts cannon at it.
Yeah, the parts cannon. Yeah. One of them's going to hit it. One of them's going to take that light off. Right.
Jason Bromelkamp says since 1990, the biggest change he's seen is people's attitude. There's cultural shifts that happen, and what was acceptable back then may be completely unacceptable these days. Things change. People's attitudes change all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thankful for it. I hope that was a good remark. Like I said, I've been doing it since 2005, and I feel like it's gotten better and better. But
well, the old tech guy says technicians and IT engineers meeting in the middle. Both disciplines have many smart components, troubleshooting knowledge, and as we see technology take over more and more and more in this industry, and as EVs are coming out now more than ever, and you see it in every corner of the industry. You've certainly seen it just in the scooter sector. There's this stuff changes regularly now, and I think we're only going to see an increased pace in that rate of change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What's really great, and what if I have a captive audience long enough, when I go off on my big diatribes about automobiles and things like that, what's really remarkable to me is when things get simpler because they're more advanced. Like if you look at the last day of the carburetor, you look at a 1986 Chevy Caprice, right? It's got a Rochester quadrajet carburetor on there with electronically controlled metering rods. You have all this advanced technology that is like just trying to squeeze every bit of efficiency and it reduce the emissions as much as it can, to the maximum extent of what the computers could do back then. And then you look at something from just a few years later. You look at the same. Well, I guess they didn't really fuel inject the Caprices. They did. The Cadillac had digital fuel injection. But so you look at a truck from the 90s. You look at a truck with a 300 straight six with sequential port fuel injection, and all of those vacuum lines and external systems that were doing everything they could to manage that carburetor are now gone, and they're more simplified. And then, but then we have more technology coming out. We've got, of course, we still have the smog pump and the EGR and, all these other emission systems, and they're all complex, and they're all running different vacuum canisters and solenoids and switches, and you got to troubleshoot all these things. Okay, but then we get a little further down there, we come out with variable cam timing, and now we can do away with all these other systems. Of course, variable cam timing is itself a very high-tech and advanced system, and it takes its own special, control systems, but it was able to delete all these other things. And as things got more advanced, now cars don't have EGR, cars don't have smog pumps, they don't have secondary air injection, because things got better and more controlled. And it's just accelerating, as you said. Now we have the hybrid and the EV market. I early on, really invested in becoming a technician who's familiar with electric vehicles. I got my L3 certification through L3 or through ASE for light duty hybrid electric. because the writing's on the wall. That's the way that things are going to go, and there's nothing we can do about it. So you might as well learn about it. And now you have cars that, hey, there is no gas engine. Now we don't have oil changes. We don't have transmission filters. We don't have all these things that we were accustomed to. It got simpler because it got more advanced. And I just think that's like a really crazy and beautiful trajectory that we're on. As things get more advanced, they're more simple.
Let's get caught up on some folks in the chat. Anthony, we are talking about significant changes in the industry that a new technician would be facing today that he would not have faced years ago, and what those kinds of changes are. There's a ton of different aspects to that, and as you're talking, I'm listening to these other aspects that I didn't think of, and there's lots of folks who all have different perspectives on this. Like Jason Bromelkamp says, younger people don't seem to want to learn and expect things. It makes me feel too old when I agree with that statement, but it's such a common sentiment. And I'm sure every generation says that about the younger generation. Oh, these kids, they don't know. But it seems like it gets worse with every generation. And it's such a common issue now trying to hire and retain good people, because I think there's a level of expectation that didn't exist before. There's a distinct inability to focus and learn, because I think there are so many different things competing for our time and attention and our mind share. The phone is a big cause of that concern. The fact that we're so connected is a big reason for that. And I don't think ultimately it really helps us on a day-to-day basis. It might help us maybe overall with our ability to access and gain information and knowledge. But I think in the day-to-day stuff, it ultimately doesn't seem to help us very much, because it's a constant problem now that we're all up against. Some companies I know they just can't hire people. I've had a hard time hiring people, and and we all have pretty good jobs. One of the most interesting conversations I had with somebody was about a job opening I had to operate a truck, and the question came to he wasn't like a candidate or anything, but he and I was having a conversation about it. And I think I told him I was having a hard time finding people. And he said, "What's it paying?" I said, "Well, there's a base salary plus there's a commission." I said, "And if you're knocking it out every day and you're working hard," I said, "you should easily be able to start earning about $20 to $25 an hour to start in a job where you've had zero experience. You're just walking in the door, and the only thing you're going to take with you is your own innate abilities, your personality, and the training that I give you. And you're going to earn about $20 to $25 an hour to start. After 6 months, that would be reviewed, it would go up. After a year, it could go up even more. And of course, the more ambition and energy you have, the more you're going to earn, because there's a commission component to the job." And he says to me, "Hey, you're not going to get anybody with slave wages."
Huh.
And I said,
Man.
I don't think you know what the word slave means. B, I'm not too sure of how many jobs you can just waltz into without knowing anything about it and earn that kind of money. Maybe you can, maybe they're out there. I just don't know what they are. But I think that illustrated to me, with this guy anyway, a certain expectation that you just can't compete with. If that's what people's mindset is, what can you offer as an employer to make it an attractive position? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no way, man. That just kind of shows somebody's, like, especially within a position that is so open-ended, to like really make your own money, as technicians are on commission, and tool guys as well. It just kind of shows their own limited idea of what they think they're capable of.
Yep.
Yeah, it is hard. I do feel like, man, I feel like the kinds of people who end up in shops a lot are people who don't know what else to do, and maybe have seen things. I don't feel that the technicians who are like really inspired and really want to learn, just want to be around cars or want to be around motorcycles. Those guys aren't the hardest ones to teach something. The guys who are just there because they're like, it's this or join the army.
Yeah.
Those people absolutely don't want to learn anything.
No, and I think especially with a lot of trades, there isn't the perspective that it's something to work up toward. Rather, it's something, if I got to fall back on it. And to me, that does the industry a disservice. It does the individual a disservice because it's downplaying something that requires a tremendous amount of skill, knowledge, and an investment in your own future that other industries don't require.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. There was a point in my life where if someone had offered me anything for $25 an hour, I probably would have took it. If it was breaking rocks with my head, I'm like, how many rocks do I got to break? I'm like, I'll do it.
Is there a quota? Because I'll break it. I'll do what I got to do.
What happens if I break 4 or 5 a day? Like, is it more? More an hour? Well, if I break this guy's rocks, can I get his wage?
Yeah, well, Country Mile Garage says we all have been punks with attitudes. The world straightens us out. It has a tendency to do that, doesn't it, Theo?
Man, absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing like just a little bit of real world injection that it straightens you out quick. Especially when you really think you know something and you really start talking a game on it. That's when the world is just like, oh yeah, boom.
Yeah. Hey, you got a fan waiting in the wings to join us. Let's welcome Cass from Speed Wrench Customs.
What's going on, guys? How you doing, Garrett?
What's happening? Good
to finally meet you. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We talk about you all the time on the truck.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Good things.
Somebody said earlier that.
Oh yeah, I'm envious, especially if your little T-handled ratchet. That thing is awesome.
I just have the one, and I'll tell you, since I stopped working on Ford Explorer Police Interceptors, I have used it 0 times. So if you're interested in it, I'm willing to part with it.
Well, it'd be like about 87% of the other tools I own. It'd just be for the box decor,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it's perfect for that. I have the little.
I'll put it right next to I'll put it right next to the Texas Twister.
Oh, you're the Texas Twister guy.
Yes.
Okay. No.
All right. I will say this about the Texas Twister. I bought it like on the absolute cheap. It wasn't like I paid top dollar for it. I paid like.
No. I have no qualms about it. I don't care if you paid top price. I want to know what was your intended application when you were like seeing that on the. Did you buy off the tool truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like, buy this from me, and I go, I don't want it. And he goes, what are you willing to offer me? And I'm like, I think I gave him like $50 or $100 or something like that.
Okay.
And then he was
this is coming together for me. Yeah. Okay.
And he was, I'm like a value buyer. Like, I mean, it could be like a box of crap and I'd still like, half off. I'll take it. But, yeah, no, it was one of those deals. And Lindsay knows the guy I bought it from too. And so he's laughing even more now because he was like, he knows exactly what I was going through.
Did you have any application in mind? Were you like,
the only thing I thought that it would work great on would be CV axles, and it still might work well. It might work well on like CV axles on like Polaris, on like a Polaris Razor or Ranger or something like that. But on a regular car, I have something else I use anyways. So but it's still like such a brave new world in my mind that I don't even know like. If I saw that, I'd be like, typically when you walk through the tool truck, you're like, I have one of those. Oh, I could use that. Remember like 3 weeks ago, I had to do that thing. I could use one of those. But I would sit there for a while thinking like, Texas Twister, how can I implement this in my daily life? Like it's like open a can of soda. Like I don't know. I think there's like 15 pieces there. I mean, you just think about it. You could hold 15 separate sheets of paper down, like or notes. Like
there you go.
I'm just saying, like because you're in your own business. You know how it goes with the phone. You're like, I have a message here, a message here, a message here, a message here. You're like, I can just use it. Piece here, piece there, piece here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a windy shop too.
Yeah.
it's something for people to talk about. So
Yeah. Hey man, you see my Texas Twister?
yeah. It's still, I don't even know if I've used it yet. Maybe I have. Maybe I used it once. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. This is holding a shelf down from flying away. So.
Yeah.
I leave it outside of the box too. I'm a real big stickler about locking everything up. Like I like to lock my box up at night and make sure all my tools are put away. Lindsay knows this. The Texas Twister, it's out in the open. I mean, it's like it's for the taking.
Yeah. It's, you know what it is? It's a challenge. You're like, if you can figure out what this thing is for, you deserve it.
Hey, I offered it as a giveaway prize, and everybody I've offered it to has said no, thank you. So I'm like, God. I even offered to throw in some cash on top of it. I'm like, all right, it's $200 and you get the Texas Twister, and they're like, I don't know.
Well, I think it's easy to get caught up in the promise of something. When I first saw that, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this makes sense. I could see a use for that. But I think it was really just a gimmick when it came down to it. I didn't think that apparently there's really just not an application for them. People really gravitate toward.
There's somebody counting a whole stack of money off of what they made off of that thing.
I don't know who they're selling it to. I mean, I don't know.
Me.
I guess. No, but you got to be careful. And let me ask you this. This is another good question. How do you guys separate the wheat from the chaff? How do you know what's legit and what's not? Is it something that you can generally tell as a consumer, when you look at something, or when the tool guy pitches it to you, or what criteria do you use? Cass, what do you think?
Oh man, I'm kind of skeptical. I like to watch the other guys in the shop suffer first before I go and bite the bullet.
Absolutely.
And
you always send a boob into a booby trap.
There you go.
No.
That's why they took canaries down in mine shafts, right? I mean, like the carrier was going to die way before you were going to die.
That's true.
I like the canaries to go and do all the heavy lifting first, and then I'll kind of decide.
Yeah. Don't be the first guy with the box in the rig in your box.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a really good strategy. Like I said, Lindsay, I've been fortunate to have good tool guys who usually don't try and sell me stuff I don't need. But typically, if I don't see myself using it, like, okay, I have to have a scenario play out in my head. Like, okay, life without this tool, I see myself saying swear words. I see myself like not being able to finish the job, so I'm not, flagging the hours. I'm not this and that. Okay, with that tool, okay, yeah, oh yeah, and I'm gonna use that 3 or 4 times a week. It's gonna be great. That's usually kind of like my wheat from the chaff tool thing. But man, I'm like a skeptic for like charlatans. I don't want to see your newfangled snake oil tool. Don't show me your Texas twisters, man. I want a good old fashioned ratchet and a good old fashioned impact, and by golly.
Well, timing is perfect here. We're going to get joined by Pat Paulson. Hey, Pat.
Evening, guys. How you doing?
What's going on, Pat? How you doing?
Great to meet you, Pat.
Likewise.
I was just going to float you a question based on what we were just talking about. As a tool guy, how do you separate the promise of a tool from its reality? Like if you get something brand new and you look at it like, I am unsure of this. Like, what's your approach with something like that?
If I look at it and it's shit and it's something that we have to carry, I just be honest with people and tell them it's shit and don't have a problem pointing them to something else.
Yeah, you're the kind of tool guy I've had pretty much my whole career. They'd be like, "Look, kid, that thing is a hot piece of garbage. Don't buy that one."
I was told that early on when I was first getting into it as a Mac guy. Mac had a few things. They sent it. We had to carry it. They'd send it to us, and it was discontinued, so we couldn't send it back. So we're stuck with it. And other guys who were, seasoned guys would tell me, don't try to sell that. It'll just make you look bad. Make the brand look bad. I'm like, okay, good enough.
I remember that conversation with you too.
Yeah.
When you had that adjustable seal driver, I'm like, throw that thing in the trash.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. And I'm sure Pat, you can attest to this. You rely on that feedback from your customers. Tell me what's not working, right? If I shouldn't carry it, I don't want to carry it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we have a set of Blue Point torque sticks on our truck that were discontinued in like 98. And, they sit on the truck, but we won't sell them to anybody. We don't put them, they're junk.
Yeah.
You gotta have them as like giveaways. When you don't pay your bill for like 3 consecutive weeks, you have to take the torque sticks. You wear it as like like the scarlet letter, like
Your
ah.
penance.
Yeah, he's got a torque stick. He doesn't pay his bill.
I think
that's the burden of everyone that is not independent and works as a franchisee. Is you will have things that are garbage that you have to carry, and they don't make it easy for you to sell stuff.
I remember being really disappointed when I got my stocking inventory from Mac, and it started out, you're real interested and you're excited, and all your brand new stuff comes in by the pallet full, and you can't wait to stock the truck. And I didn't really know much about it. My district manager was helping me get everything merchandised and lay it out, and he was telling me, I don't even remember what it was now. It was some kit with some old stuff, and he goes, "Oh God," he goes, "they're sending these out now?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's wrong with that?" He goes, "They'll probably never sell it. These things have been discontinued a long time ago, and you're stuck with it now." And so that kind of got me, a little wary when I was first getting going. And sometimes they would just send you stuff, bill you for it, and like, no, I can't send it back. That really bummed me out. And I think that's one advantage to being an independent guy is at least I can make my own decisions when I'm carrying. I still make a bad decision every now and then, but at least it's mine.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
I remember that. I remember, like Garrett was saying earlier, the closeout deals whenever you're going from being a Mac dealer to your independent dealer, and like people wouldn't believe how great the deals were. I mean, they were.
Oh man. I hope this isn't bad to say, Lindsay, but I cleaned house on you, dude.
It was terrific. My only goal was to pay the balance of my trade account, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't care, what my profit margins were. I just needed money.
This is what he did. He had like this honor system type, like name your deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's totally loaded, because if I screw them, then I'm never going to get a good deal again. And I'm like, I live on the deal, whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, I still live on the deal. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I finally drag it out of it. And he's like, how about this price? I'm like, are you sure? I mean, like, it's like stealing.
But I didn't sleep for like a week. I was like, nah, man, I hope Lindsay's going to be all right, dude. I don't know. Should I take these back to him? Do I need to give these to the church? How do I get rid of this?
The ace up my sleeve was I wasn't going away. I was going to come out with a new wrap on the truck.
Yeah. I didn't know that at the time, though. I was like, oh, God.
I wasn't going out of business. That was the best part. I just had to pay my trade account.
Well, I knew that you weren't going out of business then, but I mean, it was like, I still felt kind of bad. I was like, you did pay for the stuff. So
no, that was one of those rare instances where I could offer some steep discounts just because I needed to see the money.
Thank you. That's all I could say. Thank you.
No, thank you. It was.
I mean, like, what I wouldn't have given to have, like, you have John right now working at the shop. What I wouldn't have given to had him around in those days. Here, do you have $200? Do you have a whole set of tools? But.
Yep. I mean, there's been a lot of changes too in that regard. I ran across a guy who he hasn't turned wrenches professionally in years, but he had a really big. He used to love Mac tools, and he had a really big toolbox set up, and he had just a ton of tools. And he said to me one day, he was managing a shop, and he said to me, would you be interested in buying some of my old tools? I'm like, well, let's see what you got. And he started hard selling me. I'm like, I'm getting cautious. Like, you're hard selling a tool guy on a tool, So I'm like, let's see what you got. And he had all this old, long since antiquated stuff that was like still in the shrink wrap and still in the packaging. I'm like, God, I don't know. I've never even seen these tools before. I can't even imagine who would want to buy them from me.
A brass set of feeler gauges. He's like, when you set the clearance on your reluctor wheel, you can't have the steel feeler gauges hitting the. You're like, who are you? Who is this Van Winkle? Like, God.
Did you just wake up?
Everybody needs a good brass drift. If you're hitting anything on the.
Now, Lindsay, was there anything that you were compelled to keep from the time that you were working for Mac? Was there any particular tool or item that you said, you know what, I'm going to hang on to this?
I kept a few things for myself because I really liked them. Like I liked those. Oh my God! I know Garret and Cass both own them too. What are they? The wrenches. What are they? The
Precision torque.
Precision torque wrenches. I really like the precision
man.
torque wrenches, so I hung on to that for myself. Got a couple of things that. So anyway, so yeah, I already bought them. Might as well hang on to them.
Yeah, the bit. Don't you have the little tiny bit driver set also in that one of your go-to tools? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Because I think somebody tried to buy it off your truck one day, and you're like, yeah, I can try, right?
Yeah, well, I'm agnostic. Like I had to repo a cart once, and it had a bunch of tools in it. So I contacted the guy who I was repoing it from. Like, man, I got to take the cart. I said, "Where's the key?" Because I got to get. I said, "I'm going to take your stuff out." I said, "And I'll send them to you, but I got to take the cart." And he got all mad, and he wound up saying, "Just forget it. Keep it all." I'm like, nah, I'm happy to. Well, I got a call from the Snap-on guy who also serviced shop. He goes, "Hey man," I said, "I got some tools in that cart that are mine." I'm like, what do you got? Right. So we divvied it up. He told me what he still had a debt on, and I gave it to him, and all the rest of the stuff I kept. And I got some pretty nice things out of it. I got some nice Snap-on pliers and nice hammer and some other things that I'm happy to find the deals where I get them, and they just have to be part of the package deal with a repo cart. Because the guy, he just really gave up on the whole thing. He's like, "No, forget it. Keep the whole thing." I'm like, "Dude, I'll give you your tools. They're not mine." But nope.
Yeah. It's and that gets passed down to people like me too. I've got a fair number of fantastic deals on repossessed tools.
Yeah.
Or just, man, I got what tool is it? I have some I got my 1/4-inch impact, my electric 1/4-inch impact off a Matco truck. It's a Snap-on tool. Got off a Matco truck. The guy had it sent off to get rebuilt, and then I believe at that time the rebuild fee on that gun was like $85, and so it's like a $300 gun without a battery, without anything. And the Matco truck is like, yeah, he welched on his deal. You can have it for the price of the rebuild. And yes, I cannot say no to that, because much like you, I cannot say no to a good deal. For some reason, something in me is like, someday I'm going to need that. And I'd rather not pay full price for it. So yes, I'm going to take that right now.
No, and Ian Lloyd says he hates to say it, but repos make some great deals.
Yeah.
On both sides of that equation, Ian. As much as I don't like repoing things because it means it means the relationship is gone. Usually. Yeah. I was able to salvage 2 relationships out of repos, but normally it means that your relationship is over with somebody. And it works both ways. I mean, if somebody makes a bunch of payments on something that you can, and still in really good condition, and you can sell it as a tool guy, and now you just made 2 profits on that. I mean, it can happen, and you can offer at a low enough price that someone's happy to buy it because they get a deal, and now you're selling the same thing twice. Which means you're making money twice. Hopefully, it works out that way for you. Sometimes it doesn't, there's always that hope.
Yeah. I can't even imagine how awkward that would be. You got to like pretend that you don't know him. You got to like not make eye contact. Like, oh God.
It's funny how that goes down. Like sometimes if the person's a good person and they're just in a tight spot and things just aren't working out and he's just having a hard time, it's much easier to have that conversation. And the way I've always approached it is just to say, look, you're, so many payments behind, whatever it is. I said, I don't want to, dig into your finances and all. I said, so let me do this. Let me hang on to the tools. I'll give you 30 days to pay for them. At the end of 30 days, you pay them, they're yours. If not, I'll hang on to them. And most guys go, okay. Yeah. Every now and then you got to get a little strong-handed about it. And I don't like that. It doesn't feel good at all. But when you have an asset that you have to protect, you have to do that. Like I had a cart sale that I made with a guy. He made his down payment and that was it. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm like, dude, you promised that this was your payment schedule. And he said, yeah, I know, but the first week I had this problem. The second week my wife had that problem. The third week I was sick. The fourth, I said, I understand we all have things that are going on in our lives. I said, but that does not change our agreement. I said, so if you can't get caught up this week, I have to take the cart back. Oh man, it's got to be like that. Okay, now you're going to push back on me because you do not understand or you fail to want to understand where I'm coming from. And I said, I have a business interest in it. I said, I have to pay for it. I need you to make your payments so that I can make my payments, Oh, right. So that was one of those things where I just marched in the shop, grabbed it, and marched out, And then I said, come get your tools that are in the cart because I need the cart. He wasn't happy about it, but he couldn't argue. Pat, what's it like for you? Do you do much in the way of repos?
I don't generally have to handle that side of it because my previous employment and what I still work in the same town that I worked in previously. So it wouldn't be really, I don't know how to put it, but it wouldn't be a good look for us for me to do any kind of the repo stuff.
It's probably all for the best that way because it's not usually a comfortable situation at all. It means that things have just gotten like rock bottom in a relationship and the business has gone south with it, and you're just in survival mode at that point. You just have to protect your own business interest, and that's I hate it when something comes down to that because I'd rather preserve a relationship where I can, but you can't always do it.
Yeah, it's always been. That's why I always I pay like I do, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's a really weird, sort of an equilibrium too, because if you're repossessing someone's tools, you're taking what they need to make their living, but they're not paying you, so they're not giving you they're basically taking what you need for you to make your living. It's not working for either party at that point.
I don't think anybody I've ever worked with has had tools repoed. I'm trying to.
No, I've seen it one time, man. I saw a pretty nice new box go out the door. I was like, oh.
The only thing we had a guy that was working with Travis and I, and he had really kind of fallen off the wagon. And we went and he wanted to sell his AC machine because he was independent for a while, and he came to work with us, and he wanted to sell his AC machine, and so Lindsay was going to sell it, and Lindsay was all excited because he was going to get to sell an AC machine, and then he calls me back, or we had to unload it off the truck again. And he's like, Snap-on's looking for this thing right now.
Yeah, the first thing I do, when someone asks me to sell something for them, or especially if it seems dicey, the first thing I do is I'll call the company because people usually buy it through Maco or Snap-on or Mac Credit or whatever. They don't usually get a third-party loan. So the first thing I do is call the company and say, hey, can you tell me if there's lien on this? They're happy to say if there is or not. And it avoids all the problems. And I got that lesson taught to me very early on. I made a big mistake that could have cost me a lot. Fortunately, it didn't. In fact, I made a couple of bucks off of it, strangely enough, when I had a deal with a Matco trade-in, and I was selling a Mac box against that trade, and I was not vigilant, and I didn't realize at the time that I really should have called Matco Credit and asked them about that, and I came to learn that there was a lien on that box. So it's a very long, ugly story, but to make it short, I had to take my box back. I had to repo the Mac box that I sold because the guy defaulted on the Maco loan for his box that I took in trade. So I have my Mac box and I have possession of the Maco box. And when I told Matco Credit, I've got the box. What do you want me to do with it? The lady on the other end of the phone, there was a pause. And I heard us go, we've never gotten this phone call. I said, I don't know what to tell you. Can I call you back? I said, sure. And she said, usually what happens, when she called back, she says, usually what happens, people tear the sticker off the back, and don't tell us. She goes, we don't generally get people, doing it. I said, well, I can't be any other way. I said, it would feel too weird. I know someone's getting screwed over it. I don't want to, it would just be ugly for everybody. And
hey, you don't want that bad juju either, man.
No, right? And so I'm buddies with a Matco guy, and she said, well, do you know Bob? I said, yeah. She said, well, we called him, and he said he'll take it, and, we'll put on his trade account. I said, great. I can meet up with Bob anytime and give him the box. So I met up with Matco Bob, and we rolled the box off my truck onto his, and he hands me a check for $500. I said, what's this for? He goes, repo fee. I'm like, what? I said, got any more boxes I can repo? So Matco actually paid me a repo fee to get that box for them. I'm like,
Bob
wow.
hand you a bolo sheet on a bunch of toolboxes. Like, you see these guys, $500.
All the credit companies tell me what I can repo. I was blown away.
Wow. Well, Lindsay, I gotta jump off here.
Okay.
It was great chatting with you guys. Very nice to meet the both of you two tonight.
It was Garret. Nice meeting you.
If you ever need any motorcycle service done in Austin, Texas, look me up.
Well, we're neighbors, so
Yeah.
Yeah, and please check out Garrett's channel. It's Garret Ceasing on YouTube. I'll put some links out there. And thank you so much for joining us and being part of this. It was great to have you on, and glad people got a chance to meet you kind of in person.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased to be here, and thanks for inviting me on, Lindsay. It's been great. And I'll see you Monday.
On Monday.
All right, my guy.
All right, bud. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You too.
Dancing Alone with Rentals has a question here since Lindsay left us, which is what interest is charged off the trucks. Generally on all of the trucks, there's no interest on the truck account. We're not a bank, so just the nature of the business, how the business works is we don't charge any interest. And for us, it's 20% down and then 10% a week until you're paid off.
Yeah. That's just, it's just about what everyone does. And, we're not financial institutions, so we can't handle it the way a bank would handle it. Well, Chris Chambers has an interesting rule of thumb. Pay the tool account off within 2 months or don't buy the tool. Not a bad philosophy.
I like to pay mine all up front.
Oh yeah. Well, that just isn't everybody's best interest. You want to own the tool right away. The tool guy wants to get paid as soon as possible.
But I just fall back on life experiences taught me that's probably the better way to go. Because I've had I guess in 2019 was like a big year for me. It's whenever I got sick and I knew I was going to be out an extended period of time. I had to make changes in my life to where I didn't think I was going to be around, you know what I mean? Or I didn't know what condition I was going to be in. I didn't know if I was going to continue in the trade or not. There was a lot of ifs, and it was really concerning. And so I really turned around how I did stuff. It made a huge difference because I did it in a short period of time. It didn't take, I think I had it done in 6 to 10 weeks, something like that. I had I'd completely transformed how I did everything. And it's just been so relaxing ever since because I don't have pressure to make bills, to pay. I don't have a tool bill, that's a lot of guys probably don't have tool bills, but when I go and buy something, when I bought the porta-cooler, I paid for it. And then, what a big deal. It's okay, get it coming. I'll have your money for you. So
It puts you in the driver's seat, and I think that it gives you some buying power. And when I'm reading through the chat here and folks that want to pay cash, that's everyone wins when you do that. And I understand that
except for the
trucks are more
IRS.
expensive, and not everyone can do it, and that's okay. And sometimes you just have to rely on the credit if you have a particularly large item you want to buy. But it's like I get nervous when somebody wants to buy something that's really expensive because I have a third-party credit company that I use, but they're expensive, and I don't like to put people on those programs. And that means I'm taking all the financial risks. So I have to be very careful about who I sell big-ticket items to. And so far, it's worked out fine because I can be much choosier, and I don't live for the big sale like I know other tool guys do, and they go all excited when they're selling scanners and toolboxes and AC machines and stuff. I don't, because it's not A, you can't count on big sales all the time, but B, I'd rather have good, steady business and move a higher volume of less expensive tools than live for that $7,000 AC machine that's going to roll off the truck. Pat, what do you think about stuff like that? What's your opinions on that?
I agree with that. Usually what I'll try and do is if someone needs something really large, we can't afford to carry it on the truck. It's too much of a risk. And if they want to try and do it through the credit that we offer, that's fine. But I'll recommend to them too is, go to your bank, go to your credit union, and see what kind of deal you can get there, because inevitably it will be better. So they can pay them off, and then that gets the burden off of us. Because even with, even if we transfer it to Snap-on Credit, the truck still carries a part of that burden if the payments aren't made on the item. So I'd rather see it paid off in full and then totally out of our hair, and then handle warranty for them and continue to offer good support, but not have that burden be on the truck at all.
Does that conversation change for you a lot depending on a new tech versus someone who's been in the business for a few years and knows the ropes a little bit better?
Not really, because a lot of the people that say go out on their own and start their own shop, if they were comfortable previously doing stuff off of truck credit and doing stuff off of extended truck credit, then that's the way they want to continue doing things. So sometimes you just have to remind them that that's an option that they can do, and ultimately save themselves a little bit of money, because if they're not there, then we have no place to go and no money to make. So I guess the goal is always try and help them run their business better, or be a better technician and better steward of their finances, so that we can continue to sell to them. We lose Lindsay?
Did he have a stroke? Blink if you can hear us, Lindsay. I can't see. Oh, 1 inch big.
Just you and me again, Cass.
All right. Oh, there we go. We're down to 2. How many people we have? I don't have the chat up right now. How many people we have in the chat?
Let me look here. Oh, there's still 40 people watching.
Oh, man. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I saw I got up to 50 for a while, and then I guess I hopped on, and I haven't seen it since. But
I thought it was me that made it drop. But...
well, I'm always good to scare people off.
So how's things been going in the shop lately, Cass?
Good. Busy. I wish I had a couple more days in the week to get stuff done. So.
Question from Mid-Atlantic. How long have you been a dealer? Honestly, not very long. I've been in the periphery of the business for a couple of years, and just only recently started to work the local route for Snap-on. Well,
Yeah.
I guess he really hates us and doesn't want to come back.
Oh, well, it's our stream now, so we can do what we want, right?
Yeah, true, and it's for Lindsay's business. So what can we do that will get him in
Giveaway.
trouble?
Giveaways? Can we do a giveaway?
Yeah, what does he have left on his truck we can give away right now?
Oh, let's see. He's got some Milwaukee. He's got some gear wrench.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some. What else does he have? He's got some K-Tool Mayhew pry bars, which I almost pulled the trigger on the other day. But I'd rather them say Mayhew than K-Tool. So, what else do they have? I gotta think.
I know they're the same, but I just can't bring myself to buy K-Tool.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I didn't buy them. I was like, they have to say Mayhew for me. So, let's see. Lindsay just texted me. He says, my computer just shit the bed. I'll be back on in a few. That's right, Diabolical. Fire sale. Everything's on BOGO. Buy one, get... It's more like BOGA. Buy one, get all.
Yeah, first guy with $500 gets everything on Lindsay's truck.
Well, hold on a second. Which one? Because there's 2 trucks that don't have anything else.
Oh.
But
okay, first guy with 1,000 gets everything of value in truck 1 and truck 2. It's a business starter. The starting program.
I gotta think what else he has. He's got some good stuff on there. So one day he came by the shop and he goes, "Hey, we're not gonna run the AC on the truck today because I'm trying to see like what the savings comparison is for not running the AC on the cab." And so everybody was on the truck for about 2 minutes. And I go, if I were you, I'd turn that AC back on because the guys aren't even staying on the truck. They're hopping off faster than fast. But so then ever since then, he's like, we're AC only here. So, all right. Oh, we have bidding war going on, by the way, Pat.
Yeah, I see that.
Mid-Atlantic's at the 1,001. Oh, Ian Lloyd, 1,002.25. I like when they put the pennies on.
Sorry.
Lindsay, got some good news. We sold some tools for you.
Fantastic. Just what I was hoping to hear.
The bad news is that we're on a pretty hefty discount. We got a bidding war right now. Hold on, we might be able to recover some of your money. Oh, we're getting up there.
Wait a minute. Let me go back and see what's going on here. Oh, you guys.
You can't leave me in charge of anything. All right, come on.
Such a delicate balance we have here, isn't it? My computer's blue screened. I don't know what happened. Sorry, I'm back for now. Anyway, I don't know.
Until it does it again.
Well, I don't know. It's the first time I did it, so.
Well, it's because you were on with Jude all last night.
I can't do that. I gotta. But it got really interesting because Robert from Tools with Souls was on, and he is a really fascinating and funny guy. They're really.
It was a good
thing. So
I had gotten off, and then I kind of fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie. These 12 to 14 hour days in the 100+ degree heat, they kind of have like, you just have like I got like a random turnoff time. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'll be going out, it's almost like narcolepsy, you're just like, all of a sudden you're just like counting sheep.
Well, it's funny how worn down I feel at the end of the day. When I get home, once my rear end hits that couch, I can't stay awake. And I usually wind up nodding off. It's very rare that I can make it through, and get to bed in a reasonable hour.
Man, it was
Pat,
a
what's
scorcher.
out by you?
Yeah, people don't understand. Well, maybe not so much for you because I know you have a goal and you're keeping your truck light, but the amount of hours you do every day at the end of the day, just getting the truck straightened back out and getting restocked, and it's sometimes 16, 17-hour days, not uncommon.
No.
At the end of the day for our truck, we're destroyed at the end of every day, and it takes, good, 4 or 5, sometimes more hours just to get stuff straightened out.
Yeah, and then depending on what your business model is like, and who's responsible for what, and how you guys divvy up those kinds of responsibilities, you're dealing with your new inventory that came in, and you're checking stuff into your system. You're getting stuff tagged for your stuff that was special ordered, and there's a lot of time off the truck that you spend managing the truck. Even in a small operation, it's still a lot of time.
I'm surprised you have time to do your own repairs.
It's not always easy, Pat, and I got to make sure that I carve out the time to do that. I've got 2 things on the bench now that I got them in earlier this week, and I usually save it for if I've got time on a Friday or certainly a Saturday. I'll usually have time, and I just bang it out then. And since I started shooting videos of that stuff, that takes some extra time now too. I'm hoping it's to parlay it into something to help the YouTube channel out. I don't know if it's going to last because they're not the most popular segments I ever made, but I'm just trying it out. So so there's extra time in there now, and
look, it'll still get done faster than if you let Zach do it. All right.
Oh.
If he's watching, Zach knows I love him. So
Nice, Dale.
Kinda. I like him. I strongly like him. Well, okay, maybe I don't like him at all, but oh, I'm kidding. Zach's a good guy. I like Zach.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, but
now his schedule got crazy busy because he got married and had a kid, and that was all.
Why did he go do something dumb like that?
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
That's how they get you.
He and his girl have been together for a while, and they're planning out their lives together, and he's a mobile tech running his own business, and trying to juggle all that is a huge undertaking. And next thing you know, all your time's gone.
That's another guy that needs to have a YouTube channel, Zach. Because you'd learn more about one particular thing in life. Like he could break down oxygen on a basic scale for everybody to understand, and then he'd just go on for hours and hours and hours. And you're like, okay, how does this pertain to my day, Zach? Well, it doesn't, but now you know about oxygen.
No, he's an analytical guy, and he has a lot of knowledge, and he loves learning, and he's always looking for new ways to leverage that knowledge. So he's pretty interesting in that regard.
And I only had in the year I worked with him, I only had to yell at him one time.
Well, he's very conscientious.
No, he's a good guy. I like Zach a lot. So
yeah,
out of all my former coworkers, he's in my top 5.
That's some high praise.
Well, there's a lot. So there for a while we were going through them. That's not even counting the shop porters. This shop porters is that was fun. I used to, if I didn't like them, like when I was working at Lloyd's, if I didn't like the shop porters, I used to go make them sweep the parking lot. They were always gone the next day. That was the nails in the coffin there. I'm like, all right, well, since you're standing around, why don't you go ahead and grab the broom and go out and start cleaning the parking lot? Like, when am I going to start working on cars? Well, after you get the parking lot swept.
Ian asked me if I got my 3rd truck up and running. No, I never did because it got really difficult to hire somebody. The first 2 guys I hired didn't really work out, and you didn't really know a way to reapproach that. And then as I started seeing how difficult it was to hire somebody, the reality of my situation started setting in. And what really hit me was if I hire somebody and he operates a truck and he doesn't work out like the first two guys didn't, it puts me in a position to have to juggle my route plus their route. Now I got to juggle 2 routes, and that's not fair because you want to see all your customers every week. And it makes me move to this every other week schedule, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's a competitive enough environment where you want to be seeing your guys every week. And then what made me kind of scared was if I hire somebody and he does great and then he leaves, now what? Now I got to handle a lot of extra business. And I didn't, knowing what I knew about doing it as I was, I got kind of nervous because I know how much that took to operate 2 routes. The second one of which was kind of mediocre, but if the guy really knocks it out of the park, the amount of extra work that would introduce would be prohibitive. So instead, we're looking at some other approaches to take, and one of them is one of my long-term goals initially was to open up a brick and mortar where we could do firearm and tool sales out of, and then hopefully use the buying power from the shop to feed inventory in the trucks in the shop, and then use the sales and revenue from the truck to buy more inventory with, and kind of have this little system where they all fed themselves, and the shop would help the truck would help the shop, and kind of create this nice little cycle that way. And right now, Cass and the guy he and I know that Cass worked with named Travis, and we're exploring something along those lines. So if something works out that way, great. And we'll be able to move.
This is a very dangerous game because it's 2 things that I love very dearly are gonna be right next door to me. It's like putting the drug addict in the field picking the plants. You know what I mean? Like, are you like hedging your bets? I mean, like, is this what you're really doing? You're like, oh, well, Cass is good for a couple grand a month.
If it all falls to pieces, at least I'll have Cass.
Yeah, I mean, like, worst case scenario, I could support a small community with my tool purchasing. So,
yeah. Oh, Mark says that he does every other week. So do you run like 2 routes, Mark? Like one week, then one the other, and you just go back and forth? Well, Ian, I hear you loud and clear. Do what it takes to keep a keeper. I do, actually, and I subscribe to the philosophy that if I take care of my employees, they'll take care of my business. Unfortunately, that was not the case. And
I really wish it had worked out because I liked both the guys that were running the trucks.
I thought they were good guys, but they ultimately didn't care, and you got to at least care, and and it was tough. And the second a guy particularly hurt business, and he lasted 6 months, I think, and it took a while to recover from the harm that he did. And as a result, now I got good business going, but there were a couple of days in the week where I had to kind of pare them back and kind of move it over, move part of one route into my other route and kind of make this new route that had more shops in it, and kind of do it that way and get everyone back to a week to week schedule.
Well, I know all the Tuesday guys thank you for it. So
yeah, especially Tuesdays are particularly good days for me, and Mondays, actually, the days I see Garret, those have been very good days too. So I'm happy to get guys like that back on an every week schedule.
Yeah, you know what I saw for the first time in a long time was the Cornwall guy. He didn't come by the shop. I saw him at Central, and I was like, look, there he is. And so I guess he got his truck wrapped or something. But
okay.
Now I know why. Now I know why he doesn't go out to my soon-to-be former regular day job. After talking to my soon-to-be former boss, he was talking about the Cornwall guy. I'm like, no wonder that guy had to come by here to talk to you. He's like, fuck this, I'm out of here.
Wow.
Well, is he wrong?
I don't know the Cornwall guy out there.
No, I'm talking about the Cornwall guy.
Oh.
Can you blame him?
No, not at all. Pat, how many shops do you go to? You just kind of get that sinking feeling like, oh, these guys.
There's a couple that they're going to be dropped.
Mhm.
It's just a matter now of getting their balances down to where we're comfortable, just giving them the finger as we drive by.
Oh.
Hey, I got one shop, and I dropped them. I think like 3 years ago I dropped them. But every time I drive by, I get this sense of relief. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Did I used to work at that shop?
No.
Oh. Well, that shop's closed now, so you don't have to worry about ever
That's
going
true.
back there again.
No, that's I never had problems there.
See, we have one set of shops of 3 stops in one building that has a dirt parking lot in it, and the dealer that had our route before us would pull into that lot, do the one shop, then back up, drive around the building, and hit the other shop, so he didn't have to drive by one of the shops because he didn't even want to see them. And we started going there again. Now we fully understand why. And like I said, once he's down to where it makes sense, it'll be roll by, create a big dust cloud, give him the finger, and move to the next one.
I've even left money on the table in some shops that were so bad it was worth my while just to say keep it.
Yeah,
I'll go. And I hate to think like that because it's not good short-term business. Ultimately, it's good for business if I get out of a shop that's harming me to go to a shop that's going to be productive.
Look, clean mental health is better than money sometimes. And if you hate being somewhere, and I'll tell you that because I worked at a shop, I absolutely hated being there, and it took a while to like kind of unwind from there. It wasn't instant like I thought it would be. I didn't feel like I thought it would be like this giant weight off my shoulders. It wasn't, but over like a year span, that like I just had like a different attitude, change of mind, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Lindsay saw it. He knew what was going on, but it was one of those things where, like after I had left, I'm like, man, I should have done this 15 years ago. Like it should have stayed here this long. But yeah, no, I know what you mean about leaving money on the table. It's like, keep it. My vacation, go on a vacation on me. I'm not staying.
No, because it's worth it. If it's a harming business, whatever, if it's got to cost you to get you out of the deal, is get out of the deal with the customer. That means I'm leaving money on the table. I'm fine with that. But some guys, live by the philosophy. Some customers live by the philosophy. Well, if I always have a balance, you'll always come around. I'm like, don't bet on that.
You're gonna need to pay your bill because I'm not coming back.
Yeah,
ever.
Now, Lindsay, we started to explore some of the food processing ideas.
You had me really thinking on that, Pat, and I'm wondering what there is around me that's in different industries that I could explore. I don't know about those kinds of facilities. I wouldn't know how to find out about them, but I'm really curious about that kind of thing.
Hey, if you're interested, I could probably hook you up with somebody that's in the area. That's a pretty big food processor.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, let me talk to. I got to talk to my buddy because he's a part owner of this company. I don't know how they're doing since the pandemic, but I know they have large. They do all the spiralized noodles, like the vegetable noodles.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're over off of Ben White and just east of 35, I think. Ben White and
really?
Past
Okay.
35. Yeah.
Right.
Let me talk to Chris and see what he says.
Sure.
But
I appreciate that.
But
I
didn't even know that Pat went to the tomato plant. I was like, that's a real thing. I was like, sweet.
I said we have 3 of them, and one of the ones that we service, you go there, and we make 2 separate stops within the facility. And the first stop will be, 35 to 45 guys, and the other stop will be around 20 to 30 guys.
Wow.
And it, like I said, it's all in the same facility.
That's the best kind of setup when you can do that. That's why I really like servicing Capital Metro here, because it's bus technicians, and each building has multiple shops in it. They have an AC shop and a body shop and a mechanic shop and a heavy repair. And
they handle public works and all of that through the same facility?
No, they're just mass transit. So it's all buses. And I don't even know what other facilities
also.
To be honest, I don't even know how they stay open because nobody rides the bus in Austin.
Because they get a lot of federal funding.
Yeah. Hey, I had a question about that. So do you go to Capital Metro like several times, like through it like a different shifts? Do you do like the first shift, second shift, third shift?
Yep.
But you don't do it all on one, just different day of the week.
No, but you could, if you could easily operate a tool truck just for that facility, or they have 2 facilities. So if you were to dedicate your time to covering every shift every day, every shift every you could. You could easily make a full-time gig out of just that. There's enough people there, there's enough business.
I think you and Kyle are the only 2 tool guys y'all are like 2 of 3 that service the Cap Metro.
I am surprised that other tool guys don't when it's on their route. Like franchise tool trucks are given a route to service, and that within that route there's so many shops. And they can pick up new ones and drop new ones as time goes on within the territory. But to go outside of that territory, sometimes, if there's no one else servicing it, sometimes the franchise company can then transfer it to them to service. But what confuses me is when there's guys who have Capital Metro in their territory and they don't go. How do you not go?
Yeah.
That's the dream of a tool guy, to get a facility like that.
Well, and that's, and it also shows you like the route manager of Mac isn't paying attention to what's going on, because, they have Kyle doing Cap Metro in our area. Like probably the 2 biggest, like, you go from the big industrial side out to the heavily populated side, the 2 biggest areas, and they have one guy doing all of this territory and not breaking it up. They weren't paying attention. So, but knowing who the Mac regional managers are, it's not hard to see that why they made that mistake. So
I developed those routes for Mac. There was nobody in Dripping Springs ever. And then, excuse me one second, let me
beat the dog. He's over there. He's like, shut the fuck up.
If that's what you want to call it, beating the dog.
He's probably over there giving him a treat, going, "It's okay. You don't have to bark. They're our friends."
No, it's she's a Pyrenees, and they bark at everything. I developed the Dripping Springs route, and where Capital Metro is on the east side of town, there weren't very many shops there at all. When I got the route survey from Mac, it was horribly complete. The guy who was the district manager for the area didn't do it. They relied on the guy who was up in Dallas for some reason. And all he did is he just called shops and, we got a new guy coming out. How many guys you got in your shop? You want to come around? Okay, thanks. And that was about it. So I had this very incomplete route. So I developed both the routes, and they were very productive.
Yeah,
as a result, I ran those areas too when I went independent.
They're very good territories. I mean, like they're very good territories. But it's just.
Do you have someone in your area, Lindsay, that's doing heavy equipment like large tractors, combines, stuff like that?
Yep, there's Caterpillar has a few dealerships and service centers around.
Another good way that we've used to find additional stops to service, and they don't have to be daily stops. They can be, hey, give me a call type stops, is find out whose equipment they're working on, where it's at, because inevitably every farm has its own shop facilities, and they will buy from you if you're willing to go to them, and they will call you when they need something. And usually when they call and need something, it's a fairly big ticket item. And if they've got enough money to sublet repairs they're not able to do back to the cat dealer, then usually they've got enough money that they're going to pay you cash.
That's a good point, because there is, I think, a lot of opportunity if we get just outside the city. There's a much larger agricultural industry, and that might be a really good opportunity there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those, get off the truck and, for us and for me, I've lived in the area long enough, we're small enough, I already know who all these people are. And the gentleman that owns my route, he doesn't have that for this area, because his service area is actually rather large. So that's part of the reason I'm on, is I know these people. I can go and say, hey, what do you need? When would you like us to come by, if at all? And here's our number. And inevitably they call every couple of weeks, that I'd like a screwdriver set, or especially the farm owners, they I know it's not something you sell, but they'll call and say, hey, I'd like a new box for my shop at home, or new set of wrenches. And you'd be surprised how often they're willing to reach out to you and give you a business, as long as you're willing to work with them.
That's a very good point. And Tarek brought up this point, that he's got a Snap-on dealer that services the Bonneville Dam once a month in a paper mill. That's very interesting. And it makes me wonder, like, what's your experience, Pat, with guys who are not in the automotive industry who are your customers? Do they already understand the tool truck model? Is it something that's brand new to them? Or how does that work for you when you're getting customers on board that are in the typical industries that you might service?
Most of the ones for the larger stops we have understand it, and we try and make it as simple as possible. Like I said, for everything, you're going to pay 20% down for the tool that you're going to take, and you're going to pay 10% of your balance every week. So if your balance goes up, your payment goes up. And we try and tell them, get on auto pay. It's easier for you, it's easier for us. And a lot of guys opt for that, and we've had really good luck with non-automotive.
Because certainly you have brand recognition, so I'm sure it doesn't take much, to get guys interested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the name helps a lot. I'll admit that.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like your video that you did, Lindsay. How many people have watched that video in 5 days? How many views do you have on that video?
Oh, the Snap-on Flyer video?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked in a while.
Because you put the Cornwall flyer on there, you're having like 7 people watch.
I'm gonna do this one next.
Oh, I'm back to Matco. I haven't had a Matco guy. And
here's the deal you don't want to say no to.
I can't see it.
3 pairs of underpants for $60.
Nice.
Yeah,
$60. Oh, ooh. I don't know if we should talk about this one on the screen or not. I may have to talk to you about this afterwards.
You want underpants?
No. I don't wear underpants. Come on. Please.
You put Snap-on in the title of any video, and it's going to hit.
You're not kidding. And I first, the first time I did that was a Toolbox comparison video I did with the Classic 78.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that the one where you asked DJ if he wanted to be on camera, and he was like, no.
No, he bought that 78.
Oh.
This is a different one. I happen to have I don't know why a guy wanted a Harbor Freight box from him. I'm like, all right, fine, right? So I worked out the deal with him, and then I got a U78. I put that on the truck. I'm like, I've got these 2 boxes right across from each other on the truck. I'm going to do a comparison video, and that was the first video that really kind of took where I was at the time, and I wasn't getting much in the way of viewership or anything, and that kind of bumped me to the next level. And then the next video that bumped me to the next level was when Cass and I did his Toolbox tour. And then when Garret and I did his Toolbox tour, that was another one. And then this one with the flyer was just, I had no idea this was going to happen to it. I mean, I was just, let's see what the analytics are on this one.
Well, if you put
Yeah,
Snap-on and Harbor Freight together, that you've hit everyone's buzzwords.
because people keep Snap-on is the lightning rod. People can't wait to see what it is you're going to say. If you say something great, the fanboys love it. If you say something negative, all the haters are going to love it, right? So you can't. It's just a terrific subject matter.
Yeah.
And I've said it a million times, and I'll continue to say it. I really like Snap-on. I think that the corporate people are terrific. I'm buddies with some of the dealers. I have nothing bad to say about them, and I think people want you to, and I think part of the interest is in what people hope you're going to say or think you're going to say, and validate other people's opinions. So I did this flyer video, it just took off. I wasn't expecting it, but in the first 5 days and 13 hours, I have 24,000 views.
Only.
Yeah, only. It has garnered me 181 new subscribers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And they're all fans of the channel. They're like, "Oh, I love your content. You're the bestest of all time."
No, some panties got bunched up in this one.
Oh, I know. I pissed a few people off too. Just kind of just being relentless. So.
Yep. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I see. I want my channel to get big enough to where people hate. Not like I don't care what size it gets to, but just enough to where you get to hate along with the, in the comments where they're like, we think you suck. You're ugly. I bet you smell funny. Just stuff like that.
You'll get there.
I can't wait. I'm just gonna be like,
what does it is if you just have an opinion.
Oh man, but people don't. I mean, like, I'll be forewarned. If you can dish it, I can too.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to.
I worked with a guy in a shop, and he thought he was like the world's greatest like comeback artist, and he would say stuff like that. Like he'd always talk trash to everybody. I'm like, like I've coached youth football for 12 years. I know how to talk shit like the best. Like what you got? Hit me with your best shot.
Challenge accepted. Yes.
Yeah, I'm around like 13-year-olds all the time. I get shit talked to me constantly. Like hit me with one. But
Tarek's first box is a 54-inch Classic 78. Had two of them. I think they're fantastic boxes. I think they're built solid. They're perfect for people no matter where they are in their careers. The 96s are really nice. Those are huge. Yeah.
And the thing is, in terms of an investment, you can't really, you'll take a loss on any tool or any toolbox you buy. But the big name brand boxes, especially the Snap-on boxes, they really do tend to hold their value a little better.
I know that there's secrets here that you can't disclose, but one thing I'd love to know someday, and if I got to get somebody drunk, I will, Pat. I'd love to know about how Snap-on works some of the deals with the toolboxes, especially when the toolbox truck comes rolling around. Because a couple of guys in the shop that I service were shown they bought brand new Classic 78s for like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? Like I got to know how they did something. It just blew me away. I mean, they're beautiful, brand new boxes, and these guys are not brand new technicians, but they're fairly new. And I think these are their second boxes, so they wanted to upgrade what they had, and their dealer just put them in these boxes for cheap money, relatively speaking. Diabolical 78, everyone.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, man, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it.
I didn't even see the email till just now.
Oh, well, glad you saw it.
Hey, will you blow up his avatar so I can see what it is?
How to make gasoline at home. Kermit the Frog is interested.
Yes. Well, I gotta practice my Kermit. I haven't done it in a while. I used to do a pretty mean Kermit the Frog, but then I was upstate. I was
Kermit the
upstate.
Frog were your best impressions.
Well, after I had COVID, my impressions have all gone down the hill. So,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
How to
I
make
did put a
gasoline.
suggestion in the private chat for you, Lindsay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a good idea, Lindsay. How to make
Good
gasoline.
suggestion.
Yeah, I'm in my garage cleaning tools, so I figured I'd jump a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for being involved earlier in the chat, and it's been a good stream so far. It seems to be holding people's attention, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'm not going until 4:30 though. I'm on tap in a little bit. So
I'm not either.
I have to work tomorrow. There's just no way I can not do it. So
Got a full day schedule tomorrow?
oh yeah.
So, Lindsay, what's the what would you call your most interesting non-automotive stop, or do you have any?
Well, I guess they're pretty much all fleet diesel and automotive. I don't really do any stops that are out of the industry, but
Oh man, come on! You got a name drop, Lindsay. Come on.
well, I don't know. Would you consider any of the custom shops automotive?
Absolutely.
Um,
Martin Brothers.
Martin Brothers is very interesting. No, you know what's more interesting though? Not because of what they do, but because of the personalities as West Coast shoppers. There's a lot of interesting personalities there, and they have an interesting shop dynamic, an interesting workplace.
And they got dogs over there also.
They do. They got Lila, who's I don't know what breed she is, and they got Kane, who's just this big, massive pit bull.
Isn't Joe's dog named Blue?
Joe's dog isn't in the shop. He had two dogs, and he lost one. Was it last year or the year before? He had to put her down, and he was really busted up about it. And I don't know the name of the dog he's got now, where that he's had. But it's an interesting shop dynamic there. One of their biggest issues, like everybody else, is finding good people to work there and to keep them around. I think too many people want to work at a shop like that just for the bragging rights to say that they did. And one of the problems is trying to find quality people who can turn out the quality of work that they need. And that's not easy to do because not everyone's got that skill level. And Joe and Anthony, who's their lead machinist, are the only two guys that I've known there since I started servicing a shop. Everybody else has cycled through. And it's difficult, for them to maintain that quality, but they rely on Anthony and Joe to do a lot of that. And they're the consistent guys who are always there, who never waver in their commitment, and they're able to keep the quality high like they do. And Martin Brothers is another very interesting shop because of the work they do. They do a lot of, they do all custom work, restorations and stuff like that.
And then you go to Classic Jaguar also.
Yeah, and they do mostly restorations, I think, and they do some. Well, they also have a section of the shop where they just do maintenance and repairs and stuff on all the high end stuff. But I think the lowest end car they got in their shop right now is a Ford GT500 that costs like $500,000 or something. They just have the most
black?
No, it's gray.
Oh, okay. Because there was one driving down the road today. It was black.
No, this thing is just, I'm not a big fan of sports cars, but man, you can't help but stare a little extra longer at this one. They're beautiful cars.
Yeah. The guy that owns the shop is more interesting than maybe the cars that he works on. Well, he didn't work on anything. He just bosses people around.
Well, he's the reason he makes the deals, and he's the reason they're doing what they're doing.
He was in Scotland Yard, right? Originally that's where yeah, okay. I was trying to get my story right. I couldn't remember. So Lloyd used to work for him. So Lloyd's worked for Classic. He worked for Classic Jaguar twice. He actually worked for it when the original owner owned it, and then whenever Dan bought it, he worked for Dan. And so I worked for Dan also for a kind of side deal.
Yeah.
And then Lloyd's like, "Hey, I'm reopening my shop. You want to come work with me?" I go, "Absolutely."
Well, Tarek says he wonders if they have a lot of turnover because of the quality demands or if management is tough to get along with. Yes.
And I would also, so I used to know some guys that worked at Austin Speed Shop, and I'll tell you what their number one complaint was the pay sucked. And they just did. It's just the way it is. I mean, like when you go work somewhere like that, there's like budget is like super narrow on these deals.
It is.
So they're going to pay you the least amount they can get away with. So
yeah, and it's a shame, but it's the way of the way of that industry. And a lot of people, I think, who don't know, just wind up being disillusioned a bit and walking away. And you got to realize the personalities of the people who started these businesses is different than most people because they're just a different personality type, and they started something which is not at all typical, and they have a lot of high-end clientele, and the stuff they're cranking out has to be perfect. They have incredibly high standards. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't like to be held to a high standard. But it's one of the reasons why I think people say it's not for them and they walk away from it. But the upside is they turn out truly unique things. When you're working on something, you're working on the only one of its kind in the world, and that's got to be cool. And for the guys who stay around there, that's what motivates them, and that's what matters to them, and they enjoy that. And for other guys, they don't see the value in that.
Now, what would you say they buy the most, the custom type shops from you? What's the big seller that keeps you coming back every week?
I can't say there's one thing that sells. I see such a varied approach to what they buy. The guys who work in those shops tend to have been in the industry for a while, so they already own the basics. Mm-hmm. So what guys will do is they'll buy like one-off things. Like there's a guy who works in the paint shop in one of them. He bought a panel tree from me. And there's another guy who...
That was that deck panel tree that you had on the other day, right?
Yes.
That's good stuff. Deck is excellent.
They did terrific quality. And you know what they'll buy a lot from me, Pat? And I think I've had these on some of my tool haul videos. Astro has these quick lock die grinders. They got a little button on the back of the head that locks the collet, so you need one wrench. Those fabricators will buy the snot out of that thing for me. Mm-hmm. That I've sold to more than any tool, I think, to any of the custom shops. If the guys are doing metal work, they'll buy that die grinder.
Are you doing any machine shop type places?
No. A couple of these shops have a machine shop component to them, but I don't have the greatest line on machine shop tools because a lot of my suppliers are geared really toward the automotive industry. I could strike up a relationship, I think, with a machinist supply place down in San Antonio. I just haven't really done any business with him. And a lot of the machinists already have relationships with suppliers that they're happy with. So it'd be a little tougher nut to crack.
Yeah.
Because
I'll have to find I've got some info on that I can email you.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. I'd love to take a look at it.
I'll have to find where I have it.
Yep, I appreciate that. And Tarek is saying that when he started in auto body. They specialized in exotics and classics. They always had high turnover. Cass is right. Pay was crap, but you weren't Mako. Thank God for that. So the quality had to be out of the park. And if somebody turns out bad quality, then they're not going to last long. If they don't have the experience or the discipline, and how some guys even get in the door blows me away. I walked into one of these shops not very long ago, and when I walked in, I see this guy that I knew from a shop I used to service, and he was one of those guys, Pat, that I wanted to drive away in a cloud of dust, giving the finger to.
Mm-hmm.
And he's standing, goes, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, you owe me money." And then I wondered, how is he even standing here, right? So when I'm going down to the truck with the customers, I'm like, "Where, what's the story here?" And they go, "We don't know. He's not going to last long." I said, "No, he's not. I can tell you that already." And it's one of those weird situations where some guy somehow got his foot in the door, and I don't know how. I don't know what kind of story he told about his experiences or his background, but there's no way in the world he's going to make it. They're already telling me, 3 days in, he can't do certain basic things, and he's not going to last. And I'm like, well, no, he's not.
Now you're handling RV dealerships too, right?
Which ones?
Those RVs, trailers, recreational.
I don't, but I wondered if there's an opportunity there. There's a bunch of them not too far south of me.
Huge in RVs.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Because my understanding is too, not only in addition to all the regular automotive tools that they need all kinds of different tools for working on the interiors of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You may not want to sell one of those trucks just yet, Lizzie. You may have to, have one just for your Buda days.
I wouldn't mind. I think
you could go down there. I mean, you'd only need to drive like about 1 actual mile. You could probably hit every RV dealership in Central Texas. So
only get 2 right across from each other down there, and then there's a few right up and down the interstate. They're all you could easily cluster them together and make a good run of it.
There's that must be like where you put them. You know what I mean? Like that must be like the cities. Like you can only have them here. So back in the day, like Austin used to have one place where they sold double wide trailers in general, and it was like mobile homes, and it was like it was east of 35 on Ben White, and they were all within about a 1.5 mile span. It was like Trailer Home Alley, and I'm like, I was just like Tornado Magnet Alley. Then all that got gentrified. Now it's all like $1 million homes. But
yeah. Mark, have a good night. Thank you for jumping on. I appreciate that.
Look, he made it till 11:30. He can come.
He did really good.
And then I saw him the other night. That was
12:30 for him.
Yeah, 12:30 for him.
See you middle.
And it's a Friday.
I know. Just catching up on Tarek's comments here.
How late our time, Lindsay, were you guys on?
This morning, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say, but the sun was just about coming up.
Oh, nice.
I woke up at 4:30. I let it play. And I was like, I almost commented, like, what the hell are you guys still doing on here? And
Robert from Tools to Stole sort of stole the show. He was he was a very interesting guy. The conversation turned to our YouTube channels and the initiatives that we're doing, and he had a lot of good suggestions. Mark, yes, please let me know what your availability is. I'd love to get some stuff lined up for some of these Friday nights. It doesn't have to be every week, but I would love to do a thing with you like we did with Garret tonight. That'd be a ton of fun.
Y'all have to do it on the tool trucks, dueling tool trucks, while you're doing the live stream.
Oh boy, I don't know. You really play a game of chicken in them? That'd be fantastic.
Well, I mean, yours is a little more nimble because he's got a few more things on his truck, I think.
He does. Mine's way lighter than I've seen the pictures he posted of his inventory. I'll easily get a few more miles per gallon.
I'm not trying to, shit on you or anything. I mean, you'll be able to go a little further, but,
Yeah, Mark, you're right. Next week is a Tool Expo. I'm not going. I'm ducking out of that one. Rather save the time and the money. And ISN released some of the tool promos that we can do online. So I'll probably look at that.
Yeah. Snap-on shows in Dallas this year.
Oh, okay.
When is it?
I think in August. I'd have to look.
Are you
It is
gonna go?
I'm thinking about it.
Well, if you do, let me know. I'll
Yeah,
make
be
a
fun.
trip.
It's gonna be hot.
I'll drag Lindsay with me too.
Yes.
We'll carpool up in his tool truck. We'll take the Isuzu.
Oh, you are a glutton.
It'll
for
only
punishment.
it only takes about 3 days to get there. I think it might actually be faster to travel by bicycle.
It's not the fastest truck, but it's pretty reliable.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to be seen.
On to the one last year that they did in Florida, is Snap-on bought Disney World for a night.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah, they're doing okay, I think.
I'd say so. I mean, they're an impressive company because of all the different industries that they're in and the different brands that they own, and they just do things just so much differently than the other tool companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it always surprised me that a lot of the independent guys like yourself, I don't know if you do or not, but like why they're not carrying some of those lines that they could get. Well, like I know you can't get it through ISN, but there are channels where you can buy Baco and CDI and lots of the other stuff that is Snap-on that's not Snap-on,
Right.
and put that on your truck.
I would be happy to explore that. I just don't know the sales channels that would be best for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's there's a lot of mysteries in this industry that I still don't know. That's one of them. Like, how can I be better at buying stuff? How can I get some different, more diverse brands? And how would I do that in a cost-effective way? So that's still stuff I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But if you guys are serious about that, I'll look into it and see the process and how much passes are to get into the show.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be fun.
So
anything
I
to beat the heat.
Shirt, but
I was gonna go make I get my wife to make us Harbor Freight shirts.
that'll work. Harbor Freight spies.
Yeah.
Like 6 cameras.
And just put that right on the shirt. I am a Harbor Freight spy. Oh, Tarek has an interesting suggestion. One way to make myself better right off is just to drop cast. My life would be so much better. I don't know. Is that really true?
Your paycheck would be smaller. I'm just saying.
I mean, is it give and a take?
It'd be much smaller.
Well, we've been going for 3.5 hours. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring up, or should we call it? Should we keep going? Any thoughts?
How many people are watching still?
31.
31.
Yeah.
That's up to you. It's your deal.
How much sleep did you get?
I didn't get a whole lot of sleep.
So you probably know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to hit the bed early tonight. But yeah. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate you jumping on the panel and keeping things moving right along. And thank
home
you
run
to
interview there,
everybody.
Lindsay.
What's
That
that?
was good. Home run interview. That was good.
Well,
I liked it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Garrett's he's a really great guy, and people gave me a lot of good feedback after they saw some of the videos that we did. So
I mean,
it was
just
terrific.
the whole process went so well, and then bringing Jude on was good too. I mean, it was just like having Jude and Garret and you on there. That was good. That was good quality, process there. So
Great show.
then
Thank
you had
you,
to
guys.
slum it down by bringing me on. So
Yeah. It got real shitty when the two of us got here. John's okay. Everyone
yeah,
likes
John brought the level of class back up.
Yeah. Well done, and I thank you for that. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you for the super chats and for the conversation. Thanks for keeping the conversation rolling and asking questions. It was a ton of fun, and we will do more of these as we get folks to commit to jumping on board and doing the same kind of thing. I thought the format worked pretty good myself. It's kind of a new one to try out and keep it more like give it some structure and seem to work out pretty well. So thanks to everyone. Appreciate it. All right, we are going to call it tonight, and then if anyone has anything they'd like to say before we sign off.
Well, it's great being north of the grass. It was good. Love, peace, and grease.
God, that was perfect. Oh man.
Oh my god.
John, how about you?
Thanks for having me on, Lindsay. Good talking to you, Cass and Pat, as usual. So we'll see everybody next week, hopefully.
Thanks. Cass, what do you got?
In the immortal words of Johnny Cash.
Oh, of course. And thank you to everyone. It was a great time tonight. We will absolutely do this again. And until then, everyone stay safe, and we'll catch you all next time. Have a good night.